Have you ever felt trapped in a recurring pattern? A haunting sense of déjà vu that follows you through life. The same kind of relationship, just with a different face. The same financial ceiling. No matter how high you try to climb. The same quiet ache of being stuck, of running in place. Even when your feet are moving as fast as they can, it feels like you're an actor on a stage. Reading from a script you never agreed to write. Living out a story that someone else authored. You fight it. You struggle against it. You try to rewrite the scenes. But somehow, the plot always finds its way back to that familiar, frustrating conclusion. What if this isn't a punishment, or a curse, or a matter of random, cruel luck? What if it's a conversation? What if the universe isn't happening to you, but is, in fact, responding from you? Imagine, for a moment, that the world you experience, with all its people, its circumstances, its challenges, and its triumphs, is a magnificent, flawless mirror, a grand, cosmic looking glass that doesn't show you what you want to see, but what you truly, deeply, and often unconsciously are. It reflects not your desires, but your beliefs, not your hopes, but your hidden fears. It reflects the unhealed wounds, the unacknowledged truths, and the silent assumptions that operate in the quiet depths of your soul. This is the core of an ancient and profound truth, a secret whispered by sages and mystics throughout history. We will call it the law of reflection. And together, we are going to embark on a journey to understand it. Not through dry theory, but through an immersive story. An audiobook designed to be the soundtrack to your own awakening. This is a journey you can take with you, in your car, on a walk, during the quiet moments of your day, allowing these ideas to sink in, to permeate to your awareness. We will learn how to read the language of this mirror, to decode the messages the universe is sending you through the very fabric of your life. We will discover that the power to change your world doesn't lie in trying to polish, or bargain with, or shatter the mirror. The power lies in transforming the one who is being reflected. The power has always been you. Let us begin then, by stepping closer to this grand mirror. What is it, truly? And how does it function? For many who have walked a path of self-discovery, the first idea they encounter is often the law of attraction, a concept that has been both a source of great inspiration and, for many, a source of quiet frustration. It tells you that you attract what you think about, that your positive thoughts can manifest a positive reality, and while there is a profound truth within this, it is only half of the story. It is a tool, but it is not the foundational law. The law of attraction is the paintbrush you use to create a new image. But the law of reflection, this principle of the mirror, is the canvas itself. If you try to paint a masterpiece on a canvas that is warped, stained, and torn, your efforts will be met with distortion and disappointment. You can affirm wealth all day, but if the canvas of your being is stained with a deep-seated belief that you are unworthy, the reflection you see in your bank account will be a distorted mess of that unworthiness, not the clean lines of your affirmation. The law of attraction is you calling out to the universe, asking for what you want. The law of reflection is the universe calling back to you, showing you who you are. It is the diagnostic tool that comes before the creative one. It is the loving, yet brutally honest friend who shows you the food stuck in your teeth before you go on your big date. You must first see what is already there, before you can consciously create something new. To engage with the mirror is to move beyond simply trying to get things from the universe, and to begin the far more profound work of understanding what the universe is trying to show you about yourself. It is the difference between demanding a harvest and diligently tending to the soil. One is an act of will. The other is an act of wisdom. The mirror asks for your wisdom. This brings us to the second, unshakable principle of this law. Your inner world is the cause. Your outer world is the effect. Not sometime. Not when it's convenient. Always. This is a truth so simple, it is often missed. Like the air we breathe. We spend our lives, our precious energy, trying to manipulate the effects. We change jobs. We change partners. We move cities. We buy new things. All in an attempt to rearrange the reflections in the mirror. But this is like trying to fix your hair by touching the mirror's surface. It is an exercise in utter futility. The reflection will not, cannot, change until you, the source of the reflection, change. Every attempt to find a loving, trusting partner will fail if the cause, the seed within you, is a core belief that you are fundamentally unlovable or that people cannot be trusted. The universe, in its infinite fidelity to this law, will simply provide you with a perfect reflection of that inner cause. It will bring you partners who abandon you or betray you, not because you are cursed, but because the mirror is working perfectly. It is showing you the seed you planted. To get angry at the reflection is to get angry at the law of gravity for making a dropped glass fall. The law is simply the law. The power is not in fighting the reflection, but in returning to the garden of your inner world and planting a new seed. This understanding is not a New Age invention. It is an ancient truth, a golden thread woven through the deepest spiritual traditions of humanity. The Hermetic philosophers of ancient Egypt and Greece encapsulated this in one of the most powerful phrases ever uttered. As above, so below. As within, so without. The state of the great cosmos above is reflected in the small cosmos of man below. And even more personally, the state of the universe within you, your inner world of thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, is the direct cause and blueprint for the universe without. Your external life of circumstances and events. In the East, the concept of Maya in Hindu and Buddhist philosophy speaks to a similar truth. Maya is often translated as illusion, but a more nuanced understanding is that of a magical display, a projection, the world we perceive through our five senses. The world of form and separation is not the ultimate reality. It is a projection onto the screen of consciousness, a reflection of a deeper, unseen source. When you look in a mirror, the image you see is not you. It is a light-based representation of you. It seems real. You can interact with it, but it has no substance of its own. To believe the reflection is the real you is to be trapped in Maya, in illusion. To awaken is to turn your gaze away from the reflection and realize your identity as the source standing before it. Your life is this magical display, this Maya, a perfect projection of your own consciousness. To truly grasp this, let us consider a story, a parable of a king in a faraway land. This king, seeking to understand the nature of reality, commanded his architects to build a most unusual structure. It was a grand palace with only one enormous room inside, and every single surface, the walls, the floor, the ceiling, was covered in perfectly polished, flawless mirrors. One day, a stray dog, angry and suspicious from a hard life on the streets, wandered into the palace. As he crossed the threshold, he was instantly met with a terrifying sight. 100 angry, snarling dogs surrounded him, baring their teeth, their hair standing on end. The dog, seeing this army of threats, instinctively began to snarl. and bark with all his might. And in return, the 100 dogs in the mirrors snarled and barked back with equal ferocity. The dog grew more and more frantic, spinning in circles, barking himself hoarse at the terrifying reflections he saw everywhere he looked. He fought his mirrored enemies for hours, until at last, confused, terrified, and utterly exhausted, he collapsed on the floor and died. The next day, another dog happened upon the palace. This dog was of a different nature entirely. With a joyful heart and a trusting disposition, he trotted happily inside, his tail wagging like a metronome of pure delight. As he entered, he was greeted by the most wonderful sight he had ever seen. 100 happy, friendly dogs were there to welcome him, all of them wagging their tails just as furiously as he was. He saw 100 invitations to play. He pounced and leaped and danced, and the 100 dogs in the mirror pounced and leaped and danced right back. He spent the entire afternoon in a state of absolute bliss, playing with his new friends, before eventually trotting back out into the world, his heart full. Now, listen closely to the most important part of this story. The palace never changed. The mirrors were always the same. They held no opinion, no preference, no agenda of their own. They were perfectly, divinely neutral. They did not create the anger, nor did they create the joy. They simply and flawlessly reflected whatever was brought before them. This is the final, crucial principle we must understand today. The universe as your mirror is completely neutral. It does not judge you. It does not punish you. It is not conspiring against you. When life reflects back to you struggle, or scarcity, or heartbreak, it is not a verdict on your worth. It is not a sign that you are bad or broken. It is simply information. The mirror is a feedback system of perfect integrity. Its only function is to show you, to get angry at the mirror, to blame it, to feel victimized by it, is to miss the entire point of its existence. It is to be the first dog, fighting shadows until you are exhausted. The path to freedom, to joy, to conscious creation, is to become the second dog. It is to understand that the reflection is not the source of the feeling. Your feeling is the source of the reflection. This requires a profound courage, a courage to look, truly look, at what your life is showing you, without flinching, without blaming, and without despair. It requires you to ask not, why is this happening to me, but the far more powerful, far more transformative question, what within me is this reflecting? When you can stand before the mirror of your life, see the reflection for what it is, and not turn away, you have taken the first giant step from being a creature of circumstance to a creator of reality. You have stopped fighting the shadows on the wall and have turned to face the light that is casting them. We have established, then, that your life is this perfect, neutral mirror, reflecting your inner state, which is the ultimate cause of all your external effects. But this begs a vital question. What, exactly, is the mechanism? How does a belief, a feeling, a wound deep inside of us, actually project itself onto the tangible screen of reality? What is the unseen projector running the entire show? To answer that, we must venture into the vast, mysterious, and powerful world of the subconscious mind. We stand now in the grand hall of mirrors, understanding that the reflections we see are a perfect echo of our inner world. But we are left with a profound question, a mechanical mystery. How does a thought, a belief, a feeling buried deep within us, leap across the chasm from the unseen to the seen? How does an internal state orchestrate the grand, complex ballet of our external reality? The answer lies in a part of you that is more powerful than you can possibly imagine. A hidden kingdom that serves as the silent director of your life's movie. We are talking about the subconscious mind. Imagine your mind as an old, magnificent cinema palace. Your conscious mind. The part of you that is listening to these words right now. The part that thinks and worries and makes plans is a single person sitting in the audience. This conscious self believes it is the main character, the one making all the choices, but high above, in a small, dark room, is the projectionist. This projectionist is your subconscious mind, and it has been running the show since the day you were born. From the moment you entered this world, this projectionist began collecting film reels, a comment from a parent, a look on a teacher's face, a moment of childhood joy, a moment of sharp, searing pain. Every experience, every emotion, every lesson, every belief absorbed from your family and your culture was cataloged and stored, becoming a real and a vast, subterranean library. This library is your subconscious archive, and it is unimaginably vast. Neuroscientists often speak of the 5% versus the 95% rule. Your conscious mind, the person in the audience, accounts for, at most, 5% of your cognitive function. It is the tip of the iceberg, the part you can see. The other 95%, the enormous, unseen mass of ice below the surface that dictates the iceberg's true course, is the subconscious. It is a supercomputer of immense power, running the automatic programs that keep you alive. From breathing and beating your heart, to the far more complex programs that govern your personality, your habits, your fears, and your limitations. And here is the crucial part. The vast majority of this core programming was installed before you reached the age of 7. A time when your brain was in a state of hyper-receptivity, like wet cement, absorbing the world around you without filter or question. The beliefs of your parents became your beliefs. Their fears became your fears. The unspoken rules of your household became the foundational laws of your reality. This subconscious mind is the projector. It takes those old film reels from its library, threads them into the machine, and projects them onto the screen of your life. And it never stops. It runs while you're awake, and it runs while you're asleep. It is the silent, tireless engine creating your reality, second by second. This is why sheer willpower so often fails. This is why you can stand in front of a mirror and repeat an affirmation 1,000 times with little to no effect. Your conscious mind, that 5%, is the tiny rowboat with you in it, paddling furiously, trying to go upstream. But your subconscious mind, that 95%, is the massive, powerful current of the river, flowing in the opposite direction. No matter how hard you paddle, the current will always win. The conscious affirmation of "I am worthy of love" is a gentle breeze against the hurricane force of a subconscious program that screams, "You will always be abandoned." The conscious desire for success is a whisper against the roaring fire of a subconscious belief that says it's not safe to be seen. When your conscious will is in direct conflict with the subconscious program, the subconscious will win every single time. It's not a fair fight. In fact, it's not a fight at all. It's a matter of physics. The more powerful force will always prevail, and not only will it win, it will then orchestrate people, places, and events in the mirror of your reality to prove its own program correct. It's a self-validating loop. If your subconscious believes you are not good enough, it will subtly cause you to say the wrong thing in a job interview, to overlook a key detail in a project, to shrink back when you should step forward. It will then point to the resulting failure and say to your conscious mind, See, I told you so. You're not good enough. This isn't a malicious act. Your subconscious isn't your enemy. In its own, deeply misguided way, it is trying to protect you. It is trying to keep you consistent with your known reality, to keep you safe within the familiar confines of your programming. Because to the subconscious, the familiar is always safer than the unknown. Let's make this real with the story of a man we'll call James. Consciously, James wants to be wealthy. He is intelligent. He works hard. He reads books on investing. He has a vision board with pictures of cars and beautiful homes. His 5% is fully on board with the mission of creating abundance, but James grew up in a home where money was a source of constant stress and conflict. He never saw wealth, only the lack of it. He heard his parents say things like rich people are greedy. Money is the root of all evil. And we may not have much, but at least we're good, honest people. These statements weren't just words. They were emotional. The energetic thunderclaps that were recorded directly onto the film reels of his young, impressionable subconscious mind. His core program became money equals conflict, wealth equals bad person, scarcity equals moral. Now, watch the projector at work in James's adult life. He gets a fantastic job offer with a high salary, but an inexplicable anxiety overtakes him, and he finds a reason to turn it down for a safer option with less pay. He starts a successful side business, and just as it's about to become truly profitable, he makes a series of poor decisions that lead to its collapse. He receives a small inheritance, and instead of investing it, he feels a compulsive need to lend it to an unreliable friend who never pays him back. To the outside observer, James is just unlucky. He makes bad choices. But from the perspective of the subconscious projector, his life is a flawless masterpiece of consistency. His 95% is working perfectly to protect him from the danger of becoming a wealthy person, which his core programming has equated with being greedy, dishonest, and a source of conflict. His life is a perfect reflection, not of his conscious desires, but of his subconscious programming. He is not unlucky. He is perfectly programmed for the exact results he is getting. So here we are. We are sitting in the cinema of our lives, watching a film we don't always like. We've been trying to shout at the screen, hoping the actors will change their lines. But now we know the truth. The film is not coming from the screen. It's coming from the projection booth within us. This is not a cause for despair. It is a cause for profound hope, because you are not a helpless member of the audience. You are the owner of the cinema. You have the keys to the projection room. The journey of transformation is not about shouting at the screen louder. It is about quietly walking up the stairs, unlocking the door to that hidden room, and bravely turning on the light to see what film has been playing all this time. You must see the old film before you can choose a new one. And so, how do we begin to see the contents of these hidden reels? We don't need to spend years in hypnosis or psychoanalysis. The universe has provided a much more direct method. We simply have to study the screen. The film's contents are being projected in brilliant, high-definition color all around us. And where is this screen most brightly lit? The reflections most vivid, emotional, and undeniable. It is in the faces, the actions, and the words of the people we interact with every single day. Our relationships are the clearest screen in the cinema, and by studying them, we can begin to decode the secrets of the subconscious projector. If the subconscious is the hidden projectionist, and life is the film, then our relationships are the main screen where the movie plays out in its most vivid, emotional, and undeniable form. The people in our lives, from our most intimate partners to the briefest of acquaintances, are not random actors who have wandered onto the set. They are messengers, hand-delivered by the universe, each carrying a sealed envelope with a message written specifically for you. About you. Their job is not to make you happy or to make you miserable, though they may do both. Their ultimate spiritual function is to deliver their message, to reflect a part of your own consciousness back to you so that it can be seen, understood, and integrated. This is a radical shift in perspective. We are conditioned to see our relationships as external to us, as sources of either pleasure or pain. He made me feel loved. She made me feel angry. My boss makes me feel small. We position ourselves as the passive recipients of other people's behavior. But the law of reflection invites us to a more powerful, more responsible position. It suggests that what we feel in response to another person is not caused by them, but is triggered by them. They are the finger that pushes the button. But the button, the entire electrical system connected to it, is inside of you. It was installed long ago. Therefore, the people who trigger us the most are not our enemies. They are our greatest teachers. They are pointing with unerring accuracy to the parts of our subconscious programming that are still running, the wounds that are still unhealed. The frustrating cashier who makes you feel invisible is a messenger reflecting back a deep-seated fear that you don't matter. The partner who is emotionally distant is a messenger reflecting back a core belief that you are not worthy of deep connection. To see every person as a messenger is to transform your entire life from a battlefield of ego into a classroom of the soul. Let's first look at the golden mirror, the reflection that is easiest and most pleasant to behold. Think of someone you deeply admire, not just someone you like, but someone whose very being seems to represent an ideal for you. Perhaps it's their unshakable confidence, their effortless creativity, their profound compassion, or their courageous authenticity. When you look at them, you feel a sense of expansion, of inspiration. The law of reflection teaches that this feeling is not just admiration, it is recognition. You are not seeing something that is foreign to you. You are seeing a potential within yourself that is dormant, unexpressed, or unacknowledged. The quality you admire in them is a part of your own soul, whispering to you through the mirror of their being, saying, "This is also you. You have this same capacity for courage, for creativity, for compassion. It is time to wake it up." This is why we are drawn to our heroes and mentors. They are not just showing us the way, they are showing us ourselves, the version of ourselves that is waiting to be born. To admire a quality in another is to receive a beautiful invitation from the universe to cultivate that very same quality within your own heart. Now, we must be brave and turn to the other side of this mirror, the side that is often smudged, cracked, and difficult to look at. This is the mirror that reflects your shadow. Think of the people who trigger you, the ones who can make your blood boil with a single comment, the ones whose behavior seems not just annoying, but fundamentally offensive to you. What are the specific qualities that set you off? Is it their arrogance, their victim mentality, their laziness, their dishonesty, their need to control everything? The law of reflection posits, with unnerving precision, that the qualities that trigger the most intense, disproportionate emotional reactions in you are almost always reflections of a part of yourself that you have disowned, repressed, and judged. This is the shadow self, a concept brought to us by the great psychologist Carl Jung. It is the collection of all the parts of ourselves we were taught were unacceptable, and so we shoved them down into the basement of our subconscious. But what is repressed does not die. It seeks expression, and if it cannot be expressed through you, the universe will send you someone else to express it for you, so that you are forced to look at it. If someone's arrogance infuriates you, it might be because there is a disowned part of you that secretly longs for more self-confidence. but you were taught that it was wrong to be full of yourself. So you repress your own confidence. And then you are intensely triggered when you see it expressed, even in a distorted way, in another. If a person's constant need for attention drives you mad, it may be because your own inner child is starved for attention and validation. But your adult self has deemed that need as weak or needy. The person in front of you is simply acting out a part of your own script that you refuse to acknowledge. This is the most difficult and most rewarding work there is. It requires you to look at the person who triggers you and have the immense courage to ask, what part of myself am I seeing in them? What disowned energy of my own is this person reflecting back to me? Consider the story of a woman we will call Claire. For years, Claire's life was a repeating pattern of attracting controlling men. Her father was controlling, her college boyfriend was possessive, and her ex-husband managed every aspect of her life, from her finances to her friendships. Consciously, Claire hated it. She complained to her friends, "Why do I always attract these tyrants? I'm a strong, independent woman." But the pattern continued. Finally, in a moment of deep self-reflection, she looked past the behavior of the men and into the mirror they were holding up. She asked the hard question, and the answer that surfaced from her subconscious was terrifying and liberating. She realized that she had a deep, paralyzing fear of being responsible for her own life. The terror of making the wrong decision, of failing and having no one else to blame, was so immense that her subconscious had a secret agenda. Find someone, anyone, who will take control, because that feels safer than the terrifying freedom of being fully in charge. The men were not the cause of her situation. They were the solution to her subconscious fear. They were perfectly reflecting her disowned need to be led. When Claire finally saw this, she began the work of healing that fear, of learning to trust herself, of taking small steps to reclaim her own authority. And as she changed her inner programming, the mirror had no choice but to change its reflection. The controlling men simply and quietly faded from her experience. These recurring patterns are the universe's way of underlining the message, of putting it in bold. Flashing lights. If you consistently find yourself in relationships with people who are emotionally unavailable, the universe is desperately trying to show you a core belief that says, "I am not worthy of deep, intimate love." Or perhaps it's reflecting back your own emotional unavailability, your own fear of true intimacy. If you always have friends who end up betraying you, the mirror is reflecting a subconscious program that insists people cannot be trusted. You will then subconsciously ignore red flags and choose untrustworthy people to prove your own internal belief correct. These patterns are not a curse. They are a diagnosis. They're the most compassionate feedback system imaginable, pointing directly to the wound that is asking to be healed. Your relationships, then, are your greatest spiritual assignment. They are the primary arena where the work of your soul gets done. The goal is not to surround yourself with perfect people who never trigger you. The goal is to use your interactions with every single person as an opportunity to understand yourself more deeply, to reclaim the lost parts of your soul, and to become more whole. When you see your partner, your parent, your child, or your boss not as an adversary or a savior, but as a sacred mirror, a messenger from your own deeper self, blame dissolves and gratitude takes its place, and you begin to understand that just as people reflect your inner state of being, so too do the numbers in your bank account and the title on your business card. The mirror of your life extends into every corner. And our next step is to gaze into the reflection of our work and our wealth. We have walked through the gallery of our relationships, observing how the people in our lives hold up a mirror to our innermost selves. Now, we turn our attention to two of the most emotionally charged and revealing mirrors of all our career and our finances. There is perhaps no area in modern life where we feel our value is more on the line, where the feedback feels more direct, and where our subconscious programs play out with such tangible, measurable results. Your work is not just what you do. It is a reflection of what you believe you are capable of. Your bank account is not just a number. It is a printout, an energetic statement of what you believe you are worthy of receiving. To look into these mirrors is to look into the heart of your beliefs about worth, value, and your place in the world. Let us begin with the most profound and often misunderstood principle. Your net worth is not a reflection of your human worth. Your intrinsic value as a conscious being is infinite, unconditional, and non-negotiable. It cannot be measured in dollars or job titles. However, your financial reality is a direct reflection of your sense of worthiness to receive. This is a critical distinction. You can know, on an intellectual level, that you are a good and valuable person, while simultaneously harboring a deep subconscious program that blocks you from receiving abundance. Imagine your infinite human worth is the sun, constantly shining. Your belief about your worthiness to receive is the roof on your house. You can stand inside your house and know the sun is shining. But if your roof has no windows or skylights, you will remain in the dark. Many of us have been programmed with a roof of unworthiness. We were taught it is more noble to give than to receive. We were taught not to be greedy, not to ask for too much, not to be a burden. These lessons, while often well-intentioned, install a subconscious program that makes receiving feel unsafe, uncomfortable, or even wrong. So, how does this play out in the mirror? You might be the person who always picks up the check, but feels intensely awkward when someone tries to treat you. You might do incredible work, but freeze up when it's time to ask for a raise or set a fair price for your services. You might receive a compliment and immediately deflect it or downplay it. These are not just personality quirks. They are the reflections of a subconscious barrier to receiving. The universe is constantly attempting to shower you with abundance, with love, with help, with money. But your subconscious program, your roof of unworthiness, blocks the flow. Your financial situation is simply the mirror showing you how much you are subconsciously willing to let in. It is not a judgment from the universe, but a perfect reflection of your own internal floodgates. Now, let's turn to the mirror of your career. How many people do you know, perhaps even yourself, who are living in a state of quiet desperation in their work? They are stuck in a job that drains their soul, that feels meaningless, that is far beneath their true potential. Yet, they stay, year after year. This experience of being stuck is one of the clearest reflections the mirror can offer. The job is not the cage, the paycheck, the benefits, the golden handcuffs. These are not the bars of the cage. The cage is your own subconscious fear, and the job is simply the reflection of that cage. What is the fear for many? It is the fear of the unknown, which feels more terrifying than the certainty of their current misery. For others, it is the fear of failure. If they stay put, they can't fail at something new. For a great many, it is the deep-seated belief, the core program, that says, I am not good enough to do what I truly love. I don't have the talent, the intelligence, the credentials. The stagnant career is the mirror reflecting this belief back with perfect clarity. It shows you that you have prioritized the illusion of safety over the calling of your own soul. The day you begin to dissolve the inner fear, the bars of the cage will begin to dematerialize before your very eyes. Another powerful reflection we see in our work is what I call the gospel of struggle. This is a deeply ingrained cultural program that equates value with pain. It's the belief that in order to be worthy of success or payment, you must toil, you must sacrifice, you must be exhausted. No pain, no gain, hard-earned money. We speak these phrases as if they are virtues. And so, our subconscious projector plays this film of life where we must work 60-hour weeks to feel productive, where we cannot relax without feeling guilty, where we believe that if something comes easily, it must not be very valuable. The mirror of our life then reflects this perfectly. We attract jobs that overwork and underpay us. We find that our path is always the most difficult one. We burn ourselves out, believing this is the only way to prove our worth. The universe is not demanding your struggle. It responds to your energy. When your subconscious program says, "I am only valuable when I am struggling," the universe dutifully provides you with endless opportunities for struggle. The alternative is to adopt a new belief. My value is inherent. I can create immense value through joyful, inspired, and even effortless action. When you change that inner program, the mirror will reflect back a new reality of flow, ease, and grace. Let's consider the story of Julian, a painter of breathtaking talent. His canvases were filled with a light and a depth that moved everyone who saw them. Yet, Julian was perpetually poor. He lived in a tiny, cold apartment, used cheap materials, and was constantly stressed about paying his bills. His subconscious program, which he inherited from a long line of starving artists in his family, was that true art must be pure, and money corrupts art. He held this belief like a badge of honor. He looked down on artists who were commercially successful, seeing them as sellouts. His life was a flawless reflection of this belief. He was pure, and he was broke. One day, a potential patron saw his work and offered him a substantial sum of money for a commission, enough to live on for a year. Julian's first reaction was suspicion and disgust. But in a moment of clarity, brought on by the sheer exhaustion of his struggle, he saw the mirror for what it was. He realized his belief wasn't a noble virtue. It was a cage that was limiting his art. It kept him from buying the best materials. It kept him from having the peace of mind to create his best work. And it kept his beautiful art hidden away in a small room where no one could see it. He made a conscious decision to change his belief. He started to tell himself, "Money is simply energy. It is an amplifier. Money will allow my art to reach and touch the hearts of more people." He accepted the commission. As he changed his inner program, the mirror responded. More patrons appeared. Galleries called. His art, now amplified by abundance, began to shine its light into the world in a way he had never imagined. His talent hadn't changed. His belief about his worthiness to receive for that talent did. Finally, financial chaos is often a direct reflection of inner chaos. A person whose finances are a mess, with mounting debt, lost receipts, and impulsive spending, is often looking at a mirror of their own emotional turmoil. The chaos outside is a symptom of a lack of clarity, purpose, and emotional regulation inside. The act of creating a budget, of looking at your numbers, of being responsible with your money, is not just a financial exercise. It is a spiritual practice. It is an act of bringing conscious awareness to an area of your life that has been run by unconscious programming. So we see that our work and our wealth are not random external events. They are deeply personal, spiritual feedback. They are the mirror showing us our beliefs about our worth, our safety, our relationship with struggle, and our capacity to receive. They show us the programs that are running in our subconscious, We have now looked at the reflections on the screen of our lives in our relationships, our careers, and our finances. We have seen the movie that is playing. It is now time to turn away from the screen. It is time to walk up the winding staircase to the projection booth. It is time to learn how to open up the machine and examine the film reels themselves. Our journey now takes a pivotal turn. From observing the outside world to excavating the inner one. We have journeyed from the outside in. We have stood before the grand mirrors of our relationships, our careers, and our finances, and we have learned to read their reflections. We have accepted the profound truth that the world we experience is a projection of a film running deep within us. And so, our journey now takes a pivotal turn. We leave the grand theater of the world behind, and we begin the quiet, courageous ascent up the stairs to the projection booth of the subconscious mind. This is where the real work, the work of true transformation, begins. Our first task, upon entering the sacred, inner room, is to simply turn on the lights. It is time to excavate. It is time to uncover the very source code of your reality. It is time to find your core beliefs. This is an act of spiritual archaeology, not of judgment. We are not looking for what is wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. We are simply looking for what is. We are looking for the foundational assumptions, the invisible operating system that was installed in your childhood and has been running your life ever since. A core belief is not just an opinion you hold. It is a lens through which you see all of reality. If you are wearing green-tinted glasses, you do not spend your day thinking, the world is tinted green. You simply experience a green world. You perceive it as an objective fact. Core beliefs function in precisely the same way. They are the invisible lenses that color your perception of yourself, of others, and of the world itself. They operate silently in the background, shaping your thoughts, feelings, and actions, all while remaining completely unexamined. They are statements that feel as true and as fundamental as gravity, like, I am unlovable, I am not good enough, the world is a dangerous place, I must be perfect to be loved, I will always be abandoned, or I don't deserve to be happy. These are the film reels in the projector, and our task is to bring them out into the light. So how do we find something that is, by its very nature, designed to be invisible? We need a tool, a method for digging beneath the surface of our daily thoughts. The most powerful tool for this excavation is a technique you can think of as the downward arrow. It is a process of gentle but persistent inquiry that allows you to follow the thread of a single thought down to its deepest root. It works like this. First, you identify a recurring negative thought or a strong emotional reaction you've had to a situation. Let's say you sent an important email to your boss, and you haven't heard back for a day. The surface thought might be, my boss must think my work is terrible. Now, you take that surface thought, and you point the downward arrow at it. You ask yourself, with genuine curiosity, if that were true, if my boss does think my work is terrible, what would that mean about me? Be still, and listen for the honest answer that arises. Perhaps the answer is, it would mean I'm going to get fired. That's the next layer down. Now, point the arrow at that statement. And if I were to get fired, what would that mean about me? The answer might be, it would mean I'm a failure. We're getting deeper. Point the arrow again. And if you are a failure, what does that mean about you? The answer that comes up now might have a different texture, a deeper emotional charge. It means, I am incompetent. Let's go one more step. Point the arrow at that core statement. And if you are incompetent, what does that mean? The answer now might be a feeling more than a thought, a sense of finality, a deep, quiet resignation. The answer might be, It just means I'm worthless. You know you have hit a core belief when there is nowhere left to go. It feels like hitting bedrock. It's an absolute statement about your identity or the nature of reality. It often carries a heavy emotional weight, a pang in your chest, a sinking feeling in your stomach. It feels true on a primal level. The journey from "my boss didn't email me back" to "I am worthless" may seem dramatic, but this is exactly how the subconscious works, connecting external events to its deepest programs in the blink of an eye. Practicing the downward arrow technique is like becoming a detective of your own mind, tracing the clues back to their source. Another set of clues is embedded directly in the language you use every day. Start listening to yourself talk. Pay close attention anytime you use absolute, universal words like always, never, everyone, and everything. These words are giant, flashing signposts pointing directly to a core belief. When you hear yourself say, "I always mess things up at the last minute," you are stating a core belief that might be, "I am a screw-up," or "I am incapable of success." When you say, "I can never seem to get ahead financially," you are voicing the program that says, "Life is an endless struggle," or "I am not meant to be prosperous." When you complain that everyone takes advantage of my kindness, you are revealing the hidden film reel that says, "I am a victim," or "It is not safe to be open-hearted." These are not just figures of speech. They are verbal confessions of your subconscious programming. For 1 week, carry a small notebook or use a note on your phone, and simply write down every sentence you say or think that contains one of these absolute words. You will be astonished at the clarity of the patterns that emerge. Once a core belief is in place, your mind then engages in a fascinating and frustrating activity. It seeks to prove itself right. It begins to actively collect evidence to validate the belief, while simultaneously ignoring or dismissing any evidence that contradicts it. This is known as confirmation bias. Think of your core belief as a client, and your mind is a very loyal, very determined lawyer. If the client is "I am unlovable," the lawyer's only job is to build a case. It will highlight every time you were rejected, every relationship that ended, every lonely night. It will put these pieces of evidence on shiny pedestals. Meanwhile, it will expertly explain away all the contradictory evidence. The friend who loves you, oh, they have to. They're my friend. The partner who adored you, well, they didn't know the real me. The kind stranger, they were just being polite. Your inner lawyer is brilliant at maintaining the integrity of the original belief. Understanding this mechanism is crucial. It helps you realize that your belief isn't true just because you have a lot of proof. You have a lot of proof because your mind has been actively searching for it, filtering your reality through that specific lens for years. Imagine a woman named Sarah who decided to try this experiment. She noticed she was filled with anxiety whenever she had to say no to a request. On the surface, she just thought she was a nice person, but she tracked her thoughts using the downward arrow. She started with the thought, "I have to say yes to this dinner invitation, even though I'm exhausted." The arrow asked, "If you didn't say yes, what would that mean?" Sarah's answer, "It would mean my friend will be disappointed in me." The arrow asked again, "And what if your friend is disappointed in you?" The answer came, "It means she might not like me anymore." Arrow, "And if she doesn't like you anymore?" The answer, hitting with the force of a revelation, "It means I will be left out. I will be alone." The bedrock belief, the silent operating system that had governed her entire life, was this: "I must please everyone to be safe and secure." She never consciously thought those words, but that program was the projectionist choosing every film, every day. Excavating these beliefs is the foundational step of reclaiming your power. You cannot change a program you do not know exists. Bringing these hidden assumptions into the light of your conscious awareness is like pulling a weed up by its root to expose it to the sun. It immediately begins to lose its power over you. But as you pull up these deep roots, you will find that they are often entangled with something else. They are wrapped around bundles of powerful, rough, and often painful energy. They are guarded by the ghosts of old emotions. Identifying the belief is the first step. The next, equally crucial step, is to learn how to face and release the emotional charge that gives the belief its life force. And that is where our journey takes us next. We have turned on the lights in the projection room and begun the courageous work of identifying the old film reels. The core beliefs that have been silently shaping our reality, but as we hold these beliefs up to the light, we discover they are not merely static, dusty strips of celluloid. They are alive. They are wrapped in electric, energetic wires of raw, unresolved emotion. To simply know your belief is, "I am not good enough," is one thing. To feel the sharp, painful sting of that belief in your heart is another entirely. This emotional charge is the very thing that gives the belief its power, that keeps it locked in place. And so, our next step on this journey of transformation is to learn how to work with this energy. We must learn to decode the language of our feelings and use our own body as the ultimate compass, guiding us toward healing. From a very young age, most of us are taught a deeply flawed lesson about our emotions. We are taught that there are good emotions, like happiness, joy, and excitement, and bad emotions, like anger, sadness, fear, and shame. The implicit instruction is to chase the good ones and to suppress, ignore, or get over the bad ones as quickly as possible. We learn to put on a brave face, to numb ourselves with distraction, to intellectualize our pain away. But this is like trying to fix a car by cutting the wires to the dashboard warning lights. The problem doesn't go away. You just lose the ability to know what needs your attention. The truth is, there are no bad emotions. Your emotions are an intelligent and vital feedback system. They are messengers from your subconscious, energy in motion, delivering crucial data about the alignment between your current experience and your inner programming. To feel joy is to receive the message, "This is in alignment with my well-being." To feel fear is to receive the message, "There is a perceived threat to my safety." To feel anger is the message, "A boundary has been crossed." To learn to listen to all of your emotions with respect, without judgment, is to reclaim a fundamental part of your innate wisdom. The most potent of these messengers are your emotional triggers. A trigger is an emotional reaction in the present moment that is disproportionate to the actual event. It's a 9-volt explosion in response to a 1-volt situation. Someone makes a casual comment about your new haircut, and you feel a wave of shame that ruins your entire day. Your partner is 5 minutes late, and you are consumed by a fiery rage and a deep fear of abandonment. Your boss offers some mild, constructive feedback, and you feel a sense of crushing failure as if you've been fired. These intense reactions are the clearest sign that the situation is not about the present moment. The present event is merely the spark that has just landed on an old, buried landmine of unresolved pain from your past. The intensity of the explosion belongs to the original, buried charge. The trigger is an echo, a ghost from the past appearing in the close of the present, and it is the most valuable clue you will ever receive. For it points with perfect accuracy to exactly what is ready to be healed within you. And where does this compass needle point? Where do we feel these triggers most acutely? We feel them in our bodies. Emotions are not abstract concepts floating in your head. They are physiological events. They are cascades of hormones and neuropeptides that flood your system and create tangible, physical sensations. The phrase "the body keeps the score" is a profound truth. Every emotion that was not fully processed, every moment of terror you had to suppress, every surge of anger you had to swallow, every wave of grief you didn't have space to feel, that energy did not simply vanish. It became stored in your cellular memory, held as chronic tension in your muscles and tissues. Think about it. Where do you feel anxiety? It's often a knot in the stomach or a tightness in the chest. Where do you feel anger? Perhaps it's a clenching in your jaw, tension in your shoulders, heat rising in your face. Where do you feel grief? It can feel like a heavy, crushing weight on your heart. Your body is a living, breathing archive of your emotional history. It is the most honest mirror you will ever have, because it cannot lie. It is your compass, and its physical sensations are the true north, pointing to where the trapped energy is stored. So, when you are triggered, when a powerful emotion arises, the path to healing is not to think your way out of it, to suppress it, or to distract yourself from it. The path is to do the radical and courageous thing, to feel it, to feel it, to heal it. This requires a practice of conscious, compassionate presence. The next time you feel a trigger rising, try this. First, simply notice, without judgment. Say to yourself, "I am triggered." A strong emotion is present. This simple act of noticing creates a sliver of space between you, the observer, and the emotion, the observed. Second, take a few slow, deep breaths. This sends a signal of safety to your nervous system, telling it that you are not in immediate danger. Third, turn your attention inward and scan your body. Ask, where is the physical sensation of this emotion living in my body right now? Be a curious scientist. Is it in your throat, your belly, your back? Get as specific as you can. Is the sensation hot or cold? Is it sharp or dull? Is it buzzing, vibrating, or tight and constricted? Now comes the most important step. Instead of tensing up against the sensation, instead of resisting it, see if you can consciously soften the muscles around it. Breathe into it. Welcome it. You are not trying to change it, fix it, or make it go away. Your only job is to offer it your calm, loving, non-judgmental presence. As you would sit with a crying child, you simply stay with the sensation, allowing it to be exactly as it is. As you stay with it, you can gently ask the sensation, "What do you have to tell me, or what do you need?" Sometimes, an answer will come as a word, an image, or a memory. Often, nothing will happen at all. And that is perfectly okay. The healing is not in the answer, it is in the act of compassionate witnessing. By allowing the trapped energy to be felt without resistance, you allow its cycle to complete. You allow the energy to finally move through you and release, freeing you from its unconscious grip. Let's consider the story of a man named Mark. For his entire adult life, Mark had what he called a short temper. He would fly into a white-hot rage whenever he was interrupted while speaking. It had damaged his relationships and his career. One day, after a particularly bad argument with his wife where he felt that familiar rage building, he remembered this practice. Instead of yelling, he stormed out of the room, sat down, and forced himself to just breathe. He turned his attention inward and located the rage. It was a searing, fiery ball of energy in his chest. It felt immense and terrifying. He resisted the urge to run from it, and instead, he just watched it, felt it, breathed into it. As he stayed with the sensation, a memory, clear as day, flashed into his mind. He saw himself as a 6-year-old boy, sitting at a long dinner table with all his relatives. He was desperately trying to tell his parents about something exciting that had happened at school. But they were busy talking to the other adults, laughing and talking right over him. He remembered the feeling of being completely invisible, completely powerless, and in that moment, he felt the hot sting of tears in his eyes, because he realized his adult rage was not the anger of a powerful man being disrespected. It was the 40-year-old echo of a small, helpless boy's desperate, silent scream. "Please, just listen to me. See me." The trigger was the compass, the rage was the messenger, and the body was the map that led him directly back to the original wound. Mark's story is our story. When we have the courage to follow our triggers, to listen to the wisdom of our bodies, we almost always find that the path leads back to the same place. It leads back to the experiences, the unmet needs, and the unheard cries of the most vulnerable part of ourselves. It leads us directly to the doorstep of the inner child. Our compass has led us here. We have followed the energetic breadcrumbs of our triggers. We have listened to the whispers of our physical bodies, and the trail has led us, invariably, to this sacred and tender place, the home of the inner child. This is not a quaint psychological metaphor or a sentimental fantasy. Within the complex neurological and emotional architecture of your being, there exists a very real part of you that is frozen in time. It is the younger version of you, the one who experienced the world with wide-open senses and a wide-open heart. This inner child is the original blueprint of your soul. It is the source of your innate wonder, your boundless creativity, your spontaneous joy, and your profound capacity for connection. It is the you that existed before the world told you who you were supposed to be. But this inner child is also a living archive of your earliest experiences. It holds the memory of every unmet need, every moment of fear, every instance of being unseen or unheard. When a child's fundamental needs for safety, unconditional love, validation, and emotional attunement are not consistently met, the child, in its brilliant and desperate attempt to survive, makes powerful decisions about itself and the world. These decisions, formed in the pre-rational mind of a child, become the foundational pillars of our core beliefs. The child whose tears were met with "stop crying" or "I'll give you something to cry about" doesn't just learn to stop crying. They make a core decision. My feelings are a burden. My emotions are dangerous. The child whose parents were only happy with them when they brought home good grades makes a decision. I am only valuable when I achieve. My worth is conditional. The child who felt the emotional absence of a preoccupied parent makes a decision. I am alone. I cannot rely on others for love. These are not adult conclusions. They are childhood survival strategies hardened into the cement of subconscious programming. And here is the critical link. The seemingly adult problems we face are fear of intimacy, our workaholism, our self-sabotaging patterns, our inexplicable anxieties are very often our wounded inner child at the steering wheel of our lives. When your partner gets quiet and distant, the calm, rational adult in you might be able to consider many possibilities. But if the inner child who felt the sting of abandonment takes the wheel, it will react with the same panic and terror it felt decades ago, flooding your system with fear and prompting you to either cling desperately or lash out in anger. The high-powered executive who can never relax, who is driven by a relentless need to prove himself, is often being powered by the little boy who decided that the only way to earn his father's love was to be the best. We are grown-ups walking around with terrified, unheard children running our internal operating systems. Until we make conscious contact with this part of ourselves, we are doomed to endlessly repeat its patterns, forever fighting the reflections in the mirror without ever understanding the terrified little hand that is controlling the projector. The path to healing. The way to stop this cycle is through a process known as reparenting. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is the conscious decision, as an adult, to give yourself what you needed and did not receive as a child. This is not about blaming your parents. This is a crucial point. Most of our parents were doing the very best they could with the own programming they received from their parents. They cannot give what they do not have. Reparenting is not an act of blame. It is an act of profound self-responsibility. It is the moment you stop waiting for someone else to come and rescue you, to heal you, to finally give you the love you've always craved. And you realize that the only person with the power to do that now is you. You become the parent your inner child has been waiting for their entire life. You become the source of the love, safety, and validation you have been seeking in the outside world. How do we begin this sacred process? It starts with making contact. Find a photograph of yourself as a child, somewhere between the ages of 4 and 8. Look at it. Really look into the eyes of that little one. This was you before the heaviest layers of conditioning set in. See the openness, the vulnerability. This is who you are making contact with. The first step is to simply open a dialogue. You can do this through journaling. Take a pen and paper and write a letter to your inner child. Introduce yourself as their adult self. Tell them that you know they are there, that you are sorry you have ignored them for so long, and that you are here to listen now. Tell them you love them and that you want to protect them. Then, in a radical act of trust, switch hands or simply shift your intention and write a letter back from your inner child. Don't think, don't edit. Just let the words flow. Let the child express their fears, their anger, their sadness, their secret wishes. You may be shocked at the potent, unfiltered truth that emerges. The second core practice of reparenting is the validation of emotion. Your inner child's emotions were likely dismissed, judged, or ignored. As the new, conscious parent, your job is to do the opposite. When you feel a strong, triggered emotion, rising, anxiety, shame, anger, instead of your usual pattern of suppression or distraction, pause it. Place a hand on your heart and speak to yourself internally. Say the words your child needed to hear. I know you're feeling really scared right now. It makes sense that you feel this way. It's okay to be scared. I'm right here with you. I'm not going to leave. This act of internal validation is profoundly healing. It directly rewrites the old program that said my feelings are wrong. It tells the child, all of your feelings are welcome here. You are safe to feel. This brings us to the most vital need of the inner child: safety. The child part of you is not concerned with your career goals or your social status. Its primary concern is, am I safe as the adult? You create this safety through your actions. Every time you set a healthy boundary with a person who drains your energy, you are telling your inner child, I will protect you. Every time you say no to a commitment that would exhaust you, you are saying, your well-being matters to me. Every time you keep a promise you make to yourself, you are rebuilding a sacred trust. You are proving, through consistent action, that you are a reliable and trustworthy parent. Consider the story of a woman we'll call Maria, a highly successful lawyer, known for her fierce, take-no-prisoners attitude. Yet in her private life, she was deeply unhappy and lonely. Through self-exploration, she connected with her inner child, a little girl who grew up in a chaotic home and had to become a little adult very early on, tough and self-reliant, because no one else was. Maria realized her entire adult persona was a defense mechanism created by this child. Her fierceness was a wall to keep people out and protect her from being hurt again. As an act of reparenting, She began to speak to this little girl inside. She would reassure her. You don't have to be tough all the time. I'm the adult now. I can handle this. You can rest. And she began to practice what she called radical self-care, creating a safe, peaceful home environment, taking warm baths, reading for pleasure things her child self never experienced. She also began to allow herself moments of vulnerability with a trusted friend, proving to her inner child that not everyone would hurt her. It was a slow process, but as the little girl inside began to feel safe, the fierce, brittle armor of the adult lawyer began to soften, allowing genuine warmth and connection into her life for the first time. Finally, reparenting is not just about healing pain. It is about reclaiming joy. Your inner child is the source of your creativity, your spontaneity, and your ability to play. Ask your inner child, what do you want to do for fun? And listen to the answer. It won't be network or optimize my portfolio. It will be, let's go to the beach. Let's draw with crayons. Let's swing on a swing set. Let's dance in the living room. Making time for unstructured, purposeless play is not a silly indulgence. It is a profound act of healing. It tells your inner child that their joy matters, that life is not just about work and responsibility. Healing the inner child is not a task you complete. It is a relationship you cultivate for the rest of your life. It is the act of retrieving the most precious, authentic parts of yourself from the exile of the past and bringing them home to the safety of the present. As you provide this inner safety, you will find that many of the old, scary reflections in the mirror of your life begin to fade. But there is another part of ourselves that we have cast into exile, another aspect of our being that we see reflected in the people and events we most despise. To become truly whole, we must not only embrace the innocent child within, but also have the courage to turn and face our own shadow. We have journeyed deep into the tender landscape of the heart to make contact with the innocent inner child we left behind. We have offered this child the safety, validation, and love it always deserved. This is the work of bringing light to the parts of ourselves that were wounded. But to be truly whole, to become a person of depth and authentic power, we must also be willing to journey into the dark. We must turn and face the parts of ourselves that we have judged, condemned, and locked away in the deepest dungeons of our psyche. It is now time to meet your shadow. The concept of the shadow was given to us by the brilliant Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. The shadow, in its essence, is everything we are, but have decided we are not supposed to be. Imagine that as you were growing up, you carried a metaphorical backpack. Every time you expressed a quality that was met with disapproval, punishment, or shame from your family, teachers, or culture, you learned to take that quality, stuff it into the backpack, and pretend it wasn't there. Your anger, too disruptive, into the bag it went. Your selfishness, unacceptable, into the bag. Your vulnerability, your laziness, your wildness, your ambition, your sexuality, any part of your natural human self that didn't fit the good boy or good girl persona you were being taught to perform, was exiled into this shadow bag. The shadow is not inherently evil. It is not a monster. It is simply the disowned self. It is the repository of all the parts of your humanity that you were forced to deny in order to survive and be loved. The irony is that the more perfect, nice, or spiritual a person tries to be on the surface, the larger, darker, and more powerful their shadow bag becomes, straining at the seams. So, if we've hidden these parts of ourselves so effectively, how do we even know they exist? We know because we see them everywhere. The primary way the shadow reveals itself to us is through the mechanism of projection. We take our own disowned shadow bag and we unconsciously fling its contents onto other people, the people in the world who trigger us with the most intense, visceral, and judgmental fury are almost always living, breathing mirrors of our own unexamined shadow. It's one thing to dislike a behavior. It's another thing entirely to be consumed by a sense of righteous morale outre-edit. That intensity is the clue. That is the calling card of the projected shadow. Let's make this real. Do you know someone who is obsessively judgmental of what they see as lazy people? They rant about welfare recipients, scoff at employees who take long breaks, and seethe with resentment at their partner for relaxing on the couch. Often, this person has a massive, disowned laziness shadow. They have so completely repressed their own natural human need for rest, play, and unstructured time that they cannot bear to see it in others. They have chained themselves to a persona of being a hard worker, and the sight of someone else's freedom from that same chain is infuriating. The person on the couch isn't the real problem. They are just a screen upon which the shadow of disowned laziness is being projected. Or consider the person who is disgusted by arrogance and people who seek the spotlight. They criticize celebrities. They roll their eyes at the self-promoting colleague. They preach the virtues of humility. This person is very often projecting their own disowned shadow of ambition and desire for recognition. Perhaps they were taught as a child that it was conceited to want attention, that they should be humble and stay in the background. So they stuffed their own healthy desire to be seen and celebrated into the shadow bag. Now, when they see someone else freely expressing that same desire, it triggers a powerful internal reaction, because it reminds them of the part of themselves they were forced to amputate. Their judgment of the other person is a defense against the painful longing of their own disowned self. An unexamined shadow is a dangerous thing. It does not simply lie dormant in its bag. It seeps out, it finds ways to control you from behind the scenes. It can erupt in moments of stress, causing you to have a shocking outburst of rage that seems completely out of character. It can lead to acts of self-sabotage, where some hidden part of you torpedoes your success because your persona has become too restrictive. Living with a heavy, unexamined shadow is also utterly exhausting. It takes a tremendous amount of psychic energy to keep these parts of yourself repressed. This constant inner tension can lead to anxiety, depression, and a feeling of being a fraud, of living a flat, one-dimensional life, because you have cut yourself off from the full spectrum of your own humanity. You have denied yourself the very life force that is contained within these shadow aspects. So what do? We do not try to destroy the shadow. That is impossible, and it is the cause of the problem in the first place. Instead, we do the work of integration, and it is crucial to understand that integration is not the same as indulgence. Embracing your shadow anger does not give you a license to become an abusive person. Embracing your shadow selfishness does not mean you become a narcissist. It means you stop denying that these energies exist within you, and you consciously, carefully, begin the work of reclaiming the power they hold. The great secret of the shadow is that within each of its dark and scary qualities, there is a core of gold, a nugget of pure, neutral life force, that your personality desperately needs to be whole. The alchemical work of shadow integration is to find this gold when you are triggered by someone, when you feel that judgmental fury rising. The practice is to pause and ask two questions. First, what is the specific quality in this person that is triggering me so intensely? Name it. Is it their arrogance, their victimhood, their irresponsibility? Second, and this is the courageous part, is there a tiny 1% part of me that is also like this? Or is there a part of me that secretly wishes it had the freedom to be like this? This is called owning the projection. Then, you search for the gold. The golden anger is your passion. your life force, your ability to say no and set powerful boundaries. The gold in selfishness is the ability to honor your own needs, to practice authentic self-care without guilt. The gold in laziness is the wisdom of rest, the ability to surrender and recharge. The gold in fear is your intuition, your inner warning system. The gold in arrogance is self-confidence and the right to take up space. When you can consciously see and own that you too have these energies, they stop being scary monsters that control you from the dark. They become tools that you can use consciously and wisely. You can integrate the gold of your anger to finally leave a job that has been violating your boundaries. You can integrate the gold of your selfishness to finally take that vacation you desperately need. You become a more balanced, more authentic, and paradoxically, a more compassionate human being. Because once you have faced your own capacity for darkness, you are far less likely to be self-righteous and judgmental about the darkness you see in others. To become whole is not to become perfect. It is not to be a being of all light. That is a fragile and brittle state. To be whole is to be complete. A fully integrated human who has embraced the tender vulnerability of their inner child and has also reclaimed the raw, untamed power of their own shadow. This is the sacred marriage of light and dark within your own soul. But this process of healing the child and integrating the shadow, of looking at all these painful reflections from our past, often leaves us with an energetic residue of resentment and blame. There is one final, powerful alchemical process we must learn to dissolve this charge. It is the art and the science of true forgiveness. As we journey through the inner world, bravely facing the vulnerable child and the disowned shadow, we inevitably arrive at a landscape littered with ghosts. These are the ghosts of those who hurt us, the imprints of words that wounded us, the lingering energy of events that broke our trust. In this sacred, inner space, we find that alongside our own pain, there often resides a heavy, corrosive energy. We call it by many names: resentment, bitterness, blame, hatred. It is the charge that keeps the old wounds septic, the energy that chains us to the very past we are trying to heal. To move forward, to truly clean the mirror of our perception, we must engage in a final, powerful act of spiritual alchemy. We must learn the true meaning and practice of forgiveness. Let us be clear from the very beginning what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not a statement that what happened was okay. It is not condoning harmful behavior. It is not pretending you were not hurt. It is not necessarily reconciliation. And it does not mean you must allow a person who has harmed you back into your life. The popular understanding of forgiveness is often a toxic one, a moralistic cudgel used to demand that victims prematurely dismiss their own valid pain for the comfort of others. This is not the forgiveness we speak of. The forgiveness that heals, the forgiveness that liberates, has absolutely nothing to do with the other person. It is a profound act of self-love. It is for you, and for you alone. To hold on to resentment is one of the most famous and potent analogies for a reason. It is like drinking poison yourself and waiting for the other person to die. It is a slow, spiritual suicide. When you harbor a grievance, you are the one who feels the corrosive burn of anger in your veins. You are the one whose body is flooded with the stress hormones of old trauma every time the memory is triggered. You are the one who is replaying the painful scene over and over in the cinema of your mind, dedicating your precious, creative life force to keeping a dead past alive. The person who hurt you may be living their life completely oblivious, while you remain a willing prisoner in a jail cell whose door has been unlocked the entire time. The grievance is the prison. Forgiveness is the key. It is the moment you decide you are no longer willing to sacrifice your own peace of mind at the altar of someone else's past transgressions. Think of it in energetic terms. every unresolved grievance, every person you have not forgiven, creates an invisible, energetic cord that tethers you to them. It is a thick, sticky cord of psychic energy, flowing from your present moment back to that person or event in the past. As long as that cord is intact, your energy is constantly being drained to sustain the old story, the old pain. You are quite literally feeding your past with the vitality of your present. Forgiveness is the act of taking a sacred pair of scissors and cutting that cord. It is a declaration of sovereignty. It is you saying, I am reclaiming my power. I am calling all of my energy back to me, here and now, in this present moment, where my life is actually happening. The moment you cut the cord, the story loses its power. The memory may remain, but the emotional charge, the poison, is neutralized. You are no longer a character in an old, sad story. You are free to begin writing a new one. So how do we do it? Forgiveness is a process, not a platitude. It cannot be forced. It begins with radical honesty. You cannot forgive a wound you pretend doesn't exist. You must first give yourself permission to feel the full depth of the pain. You must allow the hurt, the anger, the betrayal to have a voice. Write it down. Scream it into a pillow. Speak it out loud in a safe space. Give the inner child who was wounded a chance to say, that was not okay. That hurt me. You must honor the pain before you can release it. To skip this step is spiritual bypassing. It is pasting a happy sticker over a festering wound. Once you have allowed yourself to feel the truth of the pain, the next step is to make a conscious, adult choice. This choice is the pivot point. You say to yourself, from the wisest, most powerful part of your being, I have felt the pain. I have honored its truth. And now, for the sake of my own freedom and my own peace, I am willing to let this go. I am willing to release the emotional charge. I am willing to stop drinking the poison. The key word here is willing. You may not feel fully forgiving in that moment, but you declare your willingness. You set the intention. This signals to the universe and to your own subconscious that you are ready to begin the process of release. Now, we must address the most difficult and most crucial part of this process: forgiving yourself. We often believe that our anger is only directed outward, but if we look closer, we find a deep well of anger and judgment directed at ourselves. We blame ourselves for not being stronger, for not speaking up, for not leaving sooner, for being naive, for not knowing then what we know now. This self-blame is the anchor that keeps the entire painful structure in place. You must realize, with profound compassion, that at the time the wound occurred, you were doing the best you could with the knowledge, resources, and level of consciousness you had. You could not have done differently, because if you could have, you would have. Self-forgiveness is the act of looking back at your younger self, the one who was hurt or who made a mistake, and wrapping them in the unconditional love and wisdom of your present self. You say to them, I forgive you. You did the best you could. You are innocent. When you can truly forgive yourself, forgiving others becomes infinitely easier. There is a beautiful Zen story that illustrates this truth perfectly. Two monks were on a long pilgrimage. They came to a river where a young, beautiful woman in fine silks was stranded, afraid to cross and ruin her clothes. The monks, having taken vows to avoid all contact with women, faced a dilemma. Without a word, the older, senior monk picked the woman up, carried her across the swirling river, and gently set her down on the other side. She thanked him, and he simply bowed and continued on his way. The younger monk was speechless, his mind reeling with judgment and outrage. For hours, as they walked, he stewed in a silent fury. He replayed the scene in his head, building his case against the older monk's transgression. Finally, unable to contain himself any longer, he burst out, "Brother, how could you do that? Our vows forbid us from even touching a woman. And you picked her up and carried her in your arms. How could you break your sacred vows so casually?" The older monk stopped walking, looked at his younger companion with a gentle, compassionate gaze, and replied, "Brother, I put that woman down by the riverbank miles ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This is the question that forgiveness asks of us. The events of the past are over. The hurts are done. They are on the other side of the river. We are the ones who choose to carry them with us. Mille after agonizing mille, weighing ourselves down with the ghosts of yesterday. Forgiveness is the decision to put the woman down. It is the decision to release the burden, to empty your hands, so that you can receive the blessings of the present moment. It is the final solvent that dissolves the residue of the past, cleaning the smudges from the mirror so that your reflection can finally shine clear, bright, and free. We have walked a long and sacred path. We have healed the child, faced the shadow, and cut the energetic cords to the past through the alchemy of forgiveness. The inner landscape is now clearer, quieter. We have swept the stage clean of the ghosts of yesterday, but a clean stage is an empty stage, and nature abhors a vacuum. Into this space, a new story will inevitably be written. The question is, who will be the author? Will you allow the old, fear-based narrator to creep back in and begin telling the same tired tale? Or will you consciously pick up the pen and write a new one? This is the moment you cease to be a character in a story written for you and become the author of a story that is worthy of you. Human beings are, above all else, storytelling creatures. We do not experience reality directly. We experience the story we tell ourselves about reality. A series of events is not a life until we weave it into a narrative, complete with a protagonist, us, supporting characters, a plot with recurring themes, and a presumed ending. This inner narrative is the most powerful force in our lives. It is the master program, the grand unifying theory that holds all of our core beliefs together. And for most of us, this master story was written a long time ago by a small, frightened child trying to make sense of a confusing world. That child is the ghostwriter of your adult life. What is the story you have been living? If your life were a novel, what would be its title? The perpetual victim, the one who is always left behind, the misunderstood, martyr, the lovable screw-up. These narratives become our identity. And like a loyal method actor, we refuse to break character. If your story is "I am the one who always has to do everything myself," you will unconsciously push away help, attract incompetent people, and overwork yourself to exhaustion. Not because it is your fate, but because the script demands it. The narrative must be honored. The story you tell yourself about your life becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, a powerful feedback loop where your beliefs create your reality. And that reality, in turn, reinforces your beliefs. This story, which once may have served to protect you or get you a sliver of attention as a child, has now become your cage. The first step in breaking free is to become aware of the story. It's time to become a literary critic of your own life. Observe your thoughts and your language. What are the recurring plot points? Do you always end up in financial trouble right when things are getting good? That's a plot point. Do you always find a fatal flaw in a romantic partner just as intimacy deepens? That's a plot point. What is the central theme? Is it struggle, betrayal, not belonging? Identify the genre of your life's movie. Are you living in a bleak tragedy, a stressful thriller, or a sad drama? This is not about judgment, it is about objective analysis. You must see the story clearly before you can edit it. Ask yourself the most important question. What purpose has this story served? How has it kept me safe? Perhaps the story of I am not meant for success has kept you safe from the perceived dangers of visibility and criticism. Perhaps the story of I can't trust anyone has kept you safe from the potential pain of vulnerability. Acknowledge what the old story has done for you. Thank it for its service. And recognize that you, the adult, no longer need that particular form of protection. Now we arrive at the pivotal, practical technique that allows you to dismantle the old story. You must learn to surgically separate the event from the interpretation. The event is the raw, objective, undisputed data. The interpretation is the fiction, the narrative you weave around that data. They are not the same thing. Learning to distinguish between them is learning to see the bars of your cage. Let's say you lose your job. The event is my employment at this company has ended. This is a neutral fact. The old narrative, the interpretation might be, see, I knew it. I'm a failure. I always mess things up. I'll never be financially secure. This is a disaster. This story is filled with emotion, assumptions, and predictions based on past programming. It creates feelings of shame, fear, and hopelessness. Now, let's practice choosing a new narrative for the exact same event. The event is still, my employment at this company has ended. A new, empowered narrative could be, this chapter is now closed, creating a necessary space for a new and more aligned opportunity to enter my life. This is a redirection, not a rejection. The universe is clearing the path for something better. This is my chance to reevaluate what I truly want. Can you feel the profound energetic difference between those two interpretations? The external fact did not change, but the internal experience, the emotional reality, is a world apart. The first story leads to paralysis. The second story leads to possibility and inspired action. This is not about lying to yourself or engaging in toxic positivity. It is about consciously choosing the most empowering and useful interpretation of the facts available to you. You are not denying the difficulty of the event, but you are refusing to let the event define you in a disempowering way. This is the art that J.K. Rowling mastered, not just on the page, but in her life, by her own account. In her late 20s, the external events of her life were bleak. The events where she was divorced. She was a single parent. She was unemployed. And she was, in her words, as poor as it is possible to be in modern Britain. Without being homeless, the old default narrative for these events would be one of abject failure, of victimhood, of a life gone terribly wrong. But she chose to rewrite it. She chose a new interpretation. She later described this period not as a failure, but as a liberation. She said that rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. The loss of everything else freed her to focus on the one thing that truly mattered to her writing. The event was rock bottom. The narrative was solid foundation. That single act of rewriting, of choosing a more empowering story, changed everything. It gave her the emotional fuel to keep going, to finish her book, and ultimately, to change the world. This is your birthright as a conscious creator. You are the author. The blank page of the present moment is in front of you. You have the power to look back at the previous chapters of your life and reinterpret them. The painful breakup was not a sign that you are unlovable. It was a necessary clearing that taught you self-reliance and prepared you for true partnership. The business that failed was not proof that you are incompetent. It was your personal MBA that taught you invaluable lessons you will use for your next greater success. You can take the pen and cross out the old, disempowering narratives and write new, empowering ones in their place. You can change your protagonist from the victim to the heroic learner. You can transform your story's theme from struggle to expansion. This is not a one-time act. It is a daily practice. It is catching yourself in the old story and consciously, deliberately choosing the new one. You have forgiven the past, and now you are free to redefine it. You are taking the raw data of your life and weaving it into a tapestry of triumph, resilience, and wisdom. But a new story needs to be told and retold until it becomes your new automatic reality. It needs to be spoken into existence. It needs to be affirmed. And that brings us to the craft of forging affirmations that truly work, that can penetrate the deep layers of the mind and solidify the new narrative you have so bravely chosen to write. We have arrived at a pivotal moment of creation. With the courage of an explorer and the compassion of a sage, you have cleared the inner landscape. You have excavated the old, limiting beliefs, healed the wounds of the past, and bravely chosen a new, empowering narrative for your life. You have taken the author's chair, but a story, no matter how brilliant, remains a dormant blueprint until it is brought to life. It must be spoken. It must be felt. It must be rehearsed until it becomes more familiar and more real than the old story. It is replacing. This is the true work of affirmations. Now, let us be honest. The very word affirmation might trigger a cynical reaction in you. And for good reason. If you have ever stood in front of a mirror, looked at your tired reflection, and repeated the words, "I am vibrant, wealthy, and full of joy," while feeling broke and exhausted, only to walk away feeling more foolish and fraudulent than when you began, then your experience is valid. You have been a victim of a well-intentioned but deeply flawed methodology. The problem is not that affirmations are powerless. The problem is that we've been taught to use them like a coat of cheap paint on a crumbling wall. We have been told to ignore the foundation and just focus on the surface. Today, we learn to become master builders. We learn the principles of affirmations that actually work. Affirmations that penetrate the concrete of the subconscious and lay the foundation for a new reality. The primary reason most affirmations fail is a principle known as cognitive dissonance. It is the state of internal conflict that occurs when a new idea, "I am confident," clashes directly with a deeply held, emotionally charged subconscious belief, "I am a worthless failure." When you make a bold, positive statement that your subconscious knows to be untrue based on its decades of programming, it doesn't just accept the new data. It fights back. A part of your mind, a sort of inner heckler or truth detector, immediately pipes up from the back of the room. You say, "I am a successful and beloved person," and the heckler shouts, "Liar! What about that project that failed? What about that person who rejected you? Who do you think you're kidding?" This inner rebuttal creates a silent, energetic war within you. And because your subconscious programming, you 94%, is infinitely more powerful than your conscious 5% statement, the subconscious always wins. The attempt not only fails, but it can actually strengthen the negative belief by forcing your mind to actively recall all the evidence for its validity. It's like trying to sow seeds on a frozen lake. The seeds not only fail to sprout, but they highlight the impenetrable hardness of the ice. To make affirmations work, we must abandon this approach of brute force and adopt one of wisdom, strategy, and gentle persuasion. We must become skillful communicators with our own subconscious mind. This is done by building our new affirmations on 3 foundational pillars: believability, emotional resonance, and present tense power. The first pillar, believability, is the antidote to cognitive dissonance. Your subconscious mind will not accept a giant leap of faith, but it will accept a small, logical step. Instead of trying to jump across the canyon from "I am deeply in debt" to "I am a millionaire," we build a bridge. We use bridging statements that are undeniably true and non-threatening to our current belief system. These statements create gentle, forward momentum without triggering the inner heckler. For example, if the old belief is "I am unlovable," the old, ineffective affirmation would be "I am lovable." This creates a direct conflict. The new, bridge-based affirmation would sound like this: "I am open to the possibility that I am lovable," or "I am willing to see myself differently," or "I am in the process of learning to love myself." Can you feel the difference? Each of these statements is true. You are willing. You are open. You are in the process. There is nothing for your inner heckler to argue with. You are not lying to yourself. You are stating a new, empowering truth that begins to gently move your consciousness in a new direction. The second pillar is emotional resonance. Your subconscious mind does not primarily speak the language of words. It speaks the language of feelings. Words are the code, but emotion is the electricity that makes the code run. An affirmation repeated mechanically, with no feeling behind it, is like an unplugged appliance. It has potential, but no power. The true alchemy of an affirmation happens when you infuse the words with the corresponding emotion. The goal is to feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you say your bridging statement, "I am in the process of becoming more confident," don't just say the words. Take a moment to imagine and feel a flicker of what that confidence would feel like in your body. Would it feel like a warmth in your chest, a straightness in your spine, a calm in your mind? You are giving your subconscious a taste, a sample of the desired emotional state. It is this emotional signature that your subconscious mind registers and begins to work toward recreate. Feeling is the fuel. Without it, the engine of affirmation will never turn over. The third pillar is present tense power. The subconscious mind is a profoundly literal and simple mechanism in one specific way. It has no concept of the future. It only understands the now. When you state an affirmation in the future tense, such as "I will be happy," or "I am going to attract a loving partner," you are programming your subconscious to keep that reality perpetually in the future. Your experience will become the state of waiting to be happy or getting ready to attract love. The state of going to becomes your permanent address. Therefore, your affirmations must be stated as if they are true or are happening in this present moment. This is another reason the bridging statements are so effective. "I am becoming" is a present tense action. "I am open to" is a present tense state of being. You are affirming what is true right now. And in doing so, you are commanding your reality to continue moving in that direction. Let us imagine a runner named Elena, who is recovering from an injury. Her confidence is shattered. Her old method would be to force herself to say, "I am the fastest runner in the world," which her inner heckler would immediately refute by pointing to the pain in her knee. Using our new principles, she crafts an affirmation that works. She starts with a bridging statement for believability. "I am in the process of healing completely and reclaiming my full strength." Then, she infuses it with emotional resonance as she says it. She closes her eyes and feels the memory of power and fluidity in her legs. The feeling of the wind on her face. She feels the joy of a strong, healthy body. Finally, she ensures it has present tense power. "My body is a magnificent healing machine. Every cell is intelligently working to restore me to perfect health." This affirmation is true. It is emotionally charged. And it is happening now. This is an affirmation that heals. This is an affirmation that works. Your new life story, the one you have so bravely chosen, deserves to be reinforced with this kind of powerful, intelligent intention. Affirmations are your tool for daily rehearsal. They are you, as the author, reading the lines of your new script with feeling and conviction, so that the character you can learn them by heart. You are speaking your new reality into existence. One believable, emotionally charged, present moment statement at a time. Words are the architecture. Words are the code. But there is another language. A language even more primal and potent to the subconscious mind. It is the language of pictures, the sensory realm of the imagination. To truly supercharge this process, we must learn to speak in this native tongue. We must learn the science and the art of visualization. We have learned to speak to our subconscious mind, using the power of words, crafting affirmations that build a believable bridge to a new reality. Words are the code, the script for the new story. But if you truly want to communicate with the projectionist in a language it understands on a deep, prima level, you must speak in its native tongue. The native tongue of the subconscious is not words. It is the rich, sensory, and symbolic language of images. We are now moving from writing the script to directing the movie. We are entering the realm of visualization. This is not a flight of fancy or a childish daydream. The practice of visualization is a potent technology for reprogramming the mind. Grounded in the hard science of neuroplasticity, the most fundamental principle you must understand is this: your brain, and more specifically, your nervous system, cannot tell the difference between a real, external experience and an experience that you imagine with vivid, multi-sensory detail. To your brain, seeing is believing, but feeling is truth. When you engage in focused visualization, you are commanding the same neural pathways, the same clusters of neurons to fire as if you were actually living the event. And as the law of neuroplasticity states, neurons that fire together, wire together. You are literally building the neurological architecture of your desired future into the hardware of your brain before it has happened in the outside world. Think of the part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS. The RAS acts as a sophisticated filter, a gatekeeper for your consciousness, out of the billions of bits of sensory data bombarding you every second. The RAS decides what is important enough to bring to your conscious attention. Have you ever decided you want to buy a specific model of car? And then suddenly, you start seeing that exact car everywhere you go. The cars were always there. But once you programmed your desire into your mind, you commanded your RAS to tag that information as important and to show it to you. Visualization is the most powerful way to program your RAS. When you consistently visualize your goal as already complete, you are telling your brain, this is important. This is who we are now. Start searching for everything in the external world that matches this new reality. Your mind then begins to filter reality differently, highlighting opportunities, people, and resources that were always there, but were previously invisible to you. Elite athletes have known this for decades. Studies on Olympic athletes have shown that when a skier mentally rehearses a downhill run, the electrical activity in their leg muscles is nearly identical to when they are physically on the slopes. They are building muscle memory and a flawless neural blueprint for success without ever moving. They are creating victory in their minds first. You have this same technology within you. You are an athlete competing in the sport of your own life. And visualization is your mental training ground. So how do we move from a simple daydream to a powerful, reality-altering visualization? The art lies in the richness of the detail and the engagement of your entire being. First, you must get into a receptive state. You cannot effectively visualize while you are stressed, rushing, or distracted. Take 5 minutes. Sit quietly. Close your eyes and take several slow, deep breaths. Let your body relax. This simple act shifts your brainwaves from the active, analytical beta state to the calm, creative alpha state, where the veil between the conscious and subconscious minds is thinnest. Second, you must engage all of your senses. This is the absolute key. Do not just see your goal. Create a full, three-dimensional, sensory experience. If your goal is to live by the ocean, don't just see a picture of a beach. In your mind, stand there. What do you hear? Hear the crash of the waves, the cry of the seagulls. What do you feel? Feel the warm sun on your skin, the gentle breeze in your hair, the feeling of the wet sand between your toes. What do you smell? Smell the salty air, the scent of sunscreen. What do you taste? Taste the salt on your lips. By creating a multi-sensory scene, you are sending an avalanche of real data to your brain, making the experience far more believable and potent. Third, as we learned with affirmations, you must add the fuel of emotion. As you are standing on your imaginary beach, feel the emotions of this reality. Feel the profound sense of peace. Feel the deep gratitude for having achieved your dream. Feel the joy welling up in your chest. Let a smile spread across your face. It is this emotional signature that truly impresses the experience onto the subconscious mind and sends out a powerful energetic signal to the universe. A picture without emotion is just a picture. A picture with emotion is a prayer that your entire being knows has already been answered. A final, more advanced technique is to visualize the process, not just the triumphant end result. If your goal is to run a marathon, don't just visualize crossing the finish line. Spend time visualizing yourself on your training runs, feeling strong, you're breathing easy, enjoying the process. Visualize yourself pushing through a difficult mile, feeling a sense of pride in your own resilience. By doing this, you are not just programming the outcome, you are programming your identity. You are becoming the kind of person who can achieve such a goal. This builds a deep, unshakable belief in your own capability. One of the most famous modern examples of this principle in action is the story of the actor Jim Carrey. In the early 1990s, he was a talented but struggling comedian. He made a bold decision. He took out a check, made it out to himself for $10 million for acting services rendered, and postdated it for Thanksgiving, 1995. He then put the check in his wallet. This was not just a gimmick. He has described how he would drive up to Mulholland Drive every night, look out over the city, and visualize his success. He would use the check as a tangible anchor for his visualization, and he would feel the emotions of being a sought-after, respected, and well-compensated actor. He was creating a memory of a future he desired. Just before Thanksgiving of 1995, he found out he would be paid $10 million for his starring role in the movie Dumb and Dumber. He had created a perfect neurological and energetic blueprint, and reality had no choice but to reorganize itself around that powerful, coherent inner vision. This is your task now. You have rewritten your story. You have armed yourself with powerful, believable affirmations. Now, you must direct the film. You must create the sensory, emotional experience of your new narrative, as if it is happening right now. You are creating a memory of the future, giving your subconscious mind a clear and compelling destination. By combining the new narrative, the daily verbal reinforcement of affirmations, and the deep, sensory immersion of visualization, you have done the profound inner work of creating a new you. Your subconscious has been given its new marching orders. But this inner world, no matter how beautifully crafted, must find its expression. The final piece of the puzzle is action, but it is not the kind of action you are used to. It is not action born of struggle and force. It is action born of alignment and grace. And that is where our journey takes us next. We have arrived at the precipice where the inner world meets the outer world. We have done the profound, transformative work of recoding our subconscious mind. We have rewritten our story, supercharged it with feeling and visualization, and created a powerful, coherent inner reality. And now, the mind, the ego, begins to stir impatiently. It asks the question it has been taught to ask its entire life. Okay, what do I do now? What's the plan? How do I make this happen? Our entire culture is built on a gospel of action. We are taught to hustle, to grind, to force, to struggle. We are told that our success is directly proportional to our effort, that we must wrestle our desires into submission. This is the paradigm of the warrior, the paradigm of the ego. It is born of a fundamental distrust in the flow of life, a core belief that if I don't make it happen, it won't happen. Today, we are here to lovingly set down that heavy burden. We are here to learn a new way. The final piece of the manifestation puzzle is indeed action, but it is action of a completely different quality, from a completely different source. It is the difference between forcing a locked door and stepping through a door that has swung open for you. It is the difference between pushing a boulder up a hill and being carried by a powerful wave. It is the difference between forced action and inspired action. Forced action is the action you are most familiar with. It originates from the conscious mind, the ego. It is rooted in fear, lack, and anxiety. It's the feeling that you are behind, that you are not doing enough, that you must control every variable to prevent disaster. When you are operating from a place of forced action, it feels heavy. It feels like a struggle. It is the endless to-do list that brings no joy, the networking that feels phony and draining, the sales calls that feel desperate, the work that leads to burnout. This is the energy of swimming upstream against a powerful current. You can be the strongest swimmer in the world, paddling with all your might, and you may make some slow, exhausting progress, but the moment you stop kicking, the moment you pause to catch your breath, the current of your old subconscious programming will sweep you right back to where you started. Forced action is the ego's attempt to impose its will upon the universe. It is a declaration of separation, a belief that you are alone in your efforts, and that the universe is either indifferent or hostile to your desires. Inspired action, on the other hand, is the paradigm of the soul. It does not originate from the anxious mind, but from a deeper wellspring of wisdom, intuition, and connection. It does not arise from a place of lack, but from a place of wholeness and trust. It is the action that you take after you have done the inner work to align your energy with your desire. It is the natural, effortless next step that appears after you have marinated your consciousness in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Inspired action feels light. It feels easy. It feels exciting, energizing, and often completely obvious. It is not a should or a have to. It is a get. It's a sudden, clear impulse, a spark of an idea that pops into your head while you're in the shower. A coincidental phone call, a strange urge to visit a particular place or read a particular book. It is the universe tapping you on the shoulder and whispering, "Prost." This way, to return to our metaphor, if forced action is swimming against the current, inspired action is putting up a sail. You have done the inner work to turn your boat around and face the same direction as the current of the universe. Now, you simply raise your sail, and the wind of a higher intelligence carries you forward with a speed and grace that your own paddling could never achieve. You are no longer fighting reality. You are co-creating with it. You are in the flow, and when you are in the flow, you are magnetic. Synchronicities abound. The right people show up at the right time. The perfect opportunities land in your lap. The process feels less like a struggle and more like a magical dance. So how do we cultivate this state and learn to recognize these sacred nudges? The first and most important step is to understand that you cannot force inspiration. The prerequisite for inspired action is alignment. Your primary work is not doing, but being. It is the daily practice of the things we have discussed: rewriting your narrative, feeling your affirmations, immersing yourself in your visualizations, and cultivating a state of gratitude and trust. By doing this inner work, you tune your own energetic frequency to the frequency of your desire. Your only job is to achieve this state of inner harmony. Once you are in this state, your next job is to listen. You must create space for the whispers of inspiration to be heard. They cannot be heard when your mind is filled with the frantic noise of worry and overthinking. Inspiration arises in the moments of stillness. In the gaps, it comes on a quiet walk in nature, during meditation, just before you fall asleep, or in any activity that allows your conscious mind to relax its grip. You must become a masterful listener, attentive to the subtle energies and quiet ideas that surface when you are at peace. And you must be willing for the inspired action to seem small or illogical. Your ego has a very linear, step-by-step plan for how your goal should be achieved. The universe, with its infinite intelligence, has a far more creative and efficient plan that your ego cannot comprehend. So, the inspired action may not be write the entire business plan today. The inspired nudge might be to simply call an old friend you haven't spoken to in years. You follow that nudge, and that friend happens to mention someone they know who is looking to invest in a business just like yours. The inspired action might not be find your soulmate. It might be go to that art class you've been curious about. You follow the nudge, and you sit next to the person who will become the love of your life. You must trust these seemingly random breadcrumbs. They are the threads that the universe is using to weave your new reality. The ultimate test is the feeling. An idea born of the ego feels heavy, constricting, and complicated. An idea born of inspiration feels light, expansive, and simple, even if it's bold. Trust the feeling of lightness. Let us imagine a woman who dreams of opening her own bakery. The path of forced action would have her immediately drowning in spreadsheets, trying to write a 100-page business plan she knows nothing about, cold calling banks and getting rejected, feeling overwhelmed and defeated. The entire process is a heavy, joyless struggle against a mountain of obstacles. Now, let's imagine she chooses the path of inspired action. She spends her mornings visualizing her beautiful, successful bakery, feeling the joy of customers loving her creations. She gets herself into a state of gratitude and trust. One afternoon, feeling happy and aligned, she gets a sudden, joyful impulse, not to write a business plan, but to simply bake a dozen of her most delicious chocolate chip cookies. The act is fun and light. She takes a beautiful picture and shares it on her social media page with a heartfelt caption. It's not a marketing strategy. It's a simple expression of her joy. A local food blogger happens to see the post, tries the cookies, and writes a rave review. An investor who reads that blog, who has been looking for a small, authentic business to support, sees the review and reaches out to her. The door didn't need to be forced. It opened on its own. Once she followed the simple, joyful, inspired nudge. This is the new paradigm. Your work is not to wrestle your dreams into reality. Your work is to align your inner world, to become an energetic match for what you desire, and then to listen with an open heart for the gentle guidance that leads you step by effortless step toward its manifestation. You are shifting from a warrior, fighting against the world, to adventure, moving in perfect rhythm with it. But what happens when you follow the nudge? You take the inspired action, and the mirror of your life reflects back a setback or a disappointment. What do you do when the dance feels clumsy and you step on your own feet? This is an essential part of the journey, and it requires a new level of wisdom and trust to navigate. We have charted our new course. We have done the deep, internal work of aligning our thoughts, our feelings, and our vision. We have learned to listen for the gentle whispers of inspired action, moving with the graceful flow of the universe instead of struggling against it. But what happens on the days the dance feels clumsy? What happens when you follow a joyful nudge? Take a courageous leap of faith, and the mirror of your life reflects back not the success you envisioned, but the sharp, cold glass of disappointment. You get the rejection email. The deal falls through. The person says no. In that moment, a tidal wave of doubt, frustration, and fear threatens to crash over you. A familiar, cynical voice whispers in your ear. I knew it. I knew this was all too good to be true. It's not working. This moment, this experience of the unwanted reflection, is perhaps the most critical juncture in your entire journey. It is the ultimate test of your new understanding, and the greatest mistake you can make, the one that will send you right back to the beginning of the cycle, is to believe that cynical voice. The truth is, the appearance of a setback is not a sign that the law of reflection has failed you. On the contrary, it is definitive proof that the law is working with absolute, unerring perfection. The mirror is never broken. It is simply showing you, with flawless precision, that there is something within your energetic and subconscious field that you have not yet seen. It is not a punishment. It is a pointer. It is the universe, in its infinite compassion, highlighting a spot you missed. Therefore, we must learn to reframe this experience entirely. A setback is not a failure. It is feedback. It is not a verdict, it is data. When the mirror shows you something you do not want, your task is not to spiral into despair, but to put on the hat of a curious, compassionate scientist and ask one powerful question. What is this reflection trying to show me about my inner state? The answer will almost always fall into one of three categories, each one a profound opportunity for growth. First, the unwanted reflection may be highlighting a lingering, hidden belief. You have done the hard work of excavating your major core beliefs, but some of them have deeper, more subtle roots. You may have consciously cleared a belief in your own unworthiness, but this setback might be revealing a more specific, adjacent belief, like I am worthy, but it's not safe for me to be too successful, or I am worthy, but I don't trust myself to handle a lot of money. The setback is a gift. It is a highly calibrated diagnostic tool showing you the next layer of the onion that is ready to be peeled, the next film reel in the projector that is ready to be brought into the light. Without this external feedback, you may never have found it on your own. Second, the unwanted reflection may be a test of your commitment. The universe is always responding to your dominant vibration. After years of vibrating at a frequency of lack or fear, you have now begun to consciously cultivate a new frequency of trust and abundance. When a challenge appears, it is an opportunity to demonstrate which frequency is now your true home. Are you going to immediately revert back to your old programming of fear, worry, and victimhood at the first sign of trouble? Or are you going to hold steady in your new state of being? Are you going to say, no, I see this challenge, but I trust the process. My vision is inevitable. This does not shake my faith. A setback is a chance to prove to yourself that your new story is not just a fair-weather philosophy, but an unshakable conviction. By holding your faith steady in the face of contradictory evidence, you amplify your signal to the universe exponentially. Third, and this is often the most difficult to see in the moment, the unwanted reflection may be a necessary and compassionate redirection. It is a blessing in disguise. You, with your limited human perspective, have a very specific idea of how your desire should manifest, but the universe, with its infinite intelligence and view of the entire cosmic web, sees a path for you that is far more magnificent and efficient than you could ever conceive. The job you didn't get was a redirection, because it would have stifled your growth, and a far better opportunity is waiting around the corner. The relationship that ended was a redirection, because that person was not a vibrational match for the person you are becoming. The door that just slammed in your face was not a punishment. It was the universe lovingly protecting you from a path that was not for your highest good, and forcing you to turn and see the beautiful, wide-open gate just behind you. Knowing this intellectually is one thing, but how do you practice it in the heat of the moment? When disappointment is fresh, the key is to practice conscious neutrality. When the bad news arrives, your first job is to do nothing. Pause. Breathe. Resist the primal urge to immediately jump to a conclusion and weave a story of disaster. Acknowledge the feeling without becoming it. You can say, "Okay, this feels disappointing, and I will honor that feeling." But do not let it spiral into the story of, "I am a disappointment." Stay with the neutral facts for as long as you can. The fact is, the client said no. The story is, my business is going to fail. Conscious neutrality is the practice of creating a sacred pause between the event and your interpretation of it. In that pause, you have the power to consciously choose one of the empowering reframes we have discussed. In that pause, you reclaim your power from your automatic, fear-based reactions. Imagine you are a wise gardener, tending to the beautiful garden of your new reality. You have tilled the soil, planted new seeds, and watered them with your focus and emotion. One morning, you come out and see a large patch of weeds has sprung up where you expected to see flowers. This is your unwanted reflection. The amateur gardener might throw their hands up in despair and say, "See, it's hopeless. Gardening doesn't work. I'm a terrible gardener." But the wise gardener looks at the weeds with a different eye. The wise gardener says, "Ah, thank you. Thank you for showing me this. These weeds are not a sign that my garden is ruined. They are helpful information. They are showing me where the soil still contains the seeds of the old wilderness. They are showing me exactly where my attention is needed next." The setback is not a catastrophe. It is a helpful signpost on the map of your own consciousness. Your primary commitment, then, is not to a rigid, specific outcome by a specific time. Your primary commitment is to the inner work, to the process of becoming an energetic match for the life you desire. The journey itself is the destination, but how? In the wake of a setback, do we quickly restore our faith and get back into that joyful, trusting state of alignment? How do we recover our energetic balance when we've been emotionally knocked off center? For this, we must turn to the simplest, most powerful, and most immediate state changer available to humanity. We must turn to the transformative power of gratitude. We have navigated the treacherous waters of disappointment. We have learned to see setbacks not as failures, but as invaluable feedback from the ever-perfect mirror of our lives. But knowledge alone is not enough to calm the storm when the waves of doubt and fear are crashing against us. We need a lifeboat. We need an anchor. We need a tool so powerful it can instantly change our physiological state. So simple we can use it anywhere. And so profound it can single-handedly shift our entire energetic frequency. This tool, this ultimate state changer, is gratitude. Like many profound spiritual truths, the concept of gratitude has been diluted in our culture into a polite, superficial sentiment. We are taught to say thank you as a matter of good manners. But the gratitude we are speaking of today is not a social pleasantry. It is a primal force. It is one of the highest and most powerful frequencies you can embody. It is a state of being that biochemically alters your body and magnetically alters your reality. To understand its power, you must understand a fundamental law of consciousness. It is impossible to be in a state of genuine, heartfelt gratitude and a state of fear, anxiety, or lack at the same time. The two emotions are neurologically and energetically incompatible. They occupy opposite ends of the vibrational spectrum. You cannot simultaneously feel the expansive warmth of appreciation and the constricting cold of fear. Therefore, the conscious choice to feel gratitude is the fastest and most direct path out of a negative emotional state and back into alignment with your creative power. When you are spiraling after a setback, your body is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your mind is locked in a narrow, survival-focused loop, scanning for danger and replaying a story of what went wrong. When you intentionally shift your focus to something you are grateful for, even something small, you initiate a powerful cascade of change. Your brain begins to release dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good neurotransmitters. Your heart rhythm literally becomes more coherent and ordered, a state that can be measured scientifically. You are, in a very real sense, changing your chemistry from a state of stress to a state of peace and receptivity. It is the emergency brake for a runaway train of negative thought. It is the reset button for your entire energetic system. The practice of gratitude is also a powerful declaration to the universe. When you focus on what you lack, on what is wrong, on the desire that has not yet manifested, you are broadcasting a powerful signal of not enough. You are vibrating at the frequency of lack, and the law of reflection, in its perfect fidelity, will mirror back to you more experiences that confirm your state of not enough. When you consciously shift into gratitude, you are changing the broadcast. You are focusing on what you do have, on the blessings that already surround you, on the abundance that is already present in your life. You are vibrating at the frequency of more than enough. This sends a magnetic signal to the universe that says, "Thank you. I love what I have. I am open and ready for more." Abundance, like a grateful guest, loves to go where it is appreciated. So how do we cultivate this powerful state? Especially when we don't feel like it, we must treat it as a practice. A discipline. Like strengthening a muscle, one of the most effective techniques is what some call a rampage of appreciation. It is a simple but profound exercise. Take 5 minutes, and either out loud or in a journal, begin listing everything you can think of that you are grateful for. Start small. Do not wait for big, monumental things. I am so grateful for this comfortable chair. I am so grateful for the warmth of this coffee cup in my hands. I am grateful for the clean water that comes out of my tap. I am grateful for the roof over my head. I am grateful for the technology that allows me to listen to these words. Keep going. Let one thought of gratitude lead to another. As you gain momentum, you will find your state begins to shift. The constriction in your chest begins to loosen. A small feeling of warmth begins to spread. You are actively, consciously, changing your own vibration, a more advanced and even more powerful practice is what we will call gratitude for the future. This is the practice of feeling profound gratitude for the things you desire as if you have already received them. This is the ultimate expression of faith. It is not hope, which has an undercurrent of doubt. It is a deep, knowing appreciation for a reality that has already been created in the unseen realm and is simply on its way into your physical experience. You close your eyes, bring your desired vision to mind your healthy body, your loving partner, your thriving business, and instead of just wanting it, you flood your entire being with the feeling of gratitude for it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for my perfectly healthy and vibrant body. I am so grateful for how it feels to move with ease and energy. Thank you for the incredible love I share with my partner. I am so grateful for the laughter, the connection, the support. This practice powerfully collapses the energetic distance between where you are and where you want to be. You are signaling to your subconscious mind and to the universe that the deal is done. You are no longer asking. You are acknowledging. Consider the story of a man lost on a deserted island after a shipwreck. For the first few days, he was consumed by fear, anger, and despair. He cursed his fate, his body racked with stress, his mind clouded with hopelessness. He was vibrating at the frequency of lack and victimhood, and his reality was a perfect reflection, loneliness and scarcity. One morning, near collapse, he watched the sunrise paint the sky with impossible colors. In that moment, for no logical reason, a tiny flicker of something else sparked within him. He thought, well, at least I got to see that. It was a tiny seed of gratitude. He decided to try an experiment. He found a smooth stone, and as he held it, he forced himself to find one more thing. I am grateful for this coconut I found yesterday. It gave me water. The next day, he found another. I am grateful for the shade of this palm tree. It protects me from the harsh sun. He made this his daily ritual. Each day, he would find something new to be grateful for: the sturdiness of the cave he used for shelter, the coolness of the evening breeze. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, his inner state began to shift. The constant terror was replaced by a quiet watchfulness. The desperate panic was replaced by a sense of resourcefulness. By changing his inner state from fear to gratitude, his mind cleared. He began to notice things he hadn't seen before: the pattern of the tides, the types of fish in the lagoon. The gratitude didn't magically make a boat appear. It did something far more important. It changed him. The clearer, calmer state of mind, born of gratitude, allowed him to think of a way to build a large signal fire on the highest point of the island. It was this signal, born not of panic, but of a clear and grateful mind, that was eventually spotted by a passing ship. This is the power of gratitude. It is your first aid kit for despair. It is your direct line back to your power. It is the practice that turns your attention from the problem to the blessing, from the closed door to the open window. It is the ultimate statement of trust in the goodness of life. And when you live in a state of gratitude, you begin to notice that the universe is not a cold, random place. You begin to see the winks and nods, the hidden messages, the meaningful coincidences that confirm you are on the right path. You begin to notice the magic. You begin to follow the breadcrumbs of synchronicity. As you begin to live in the resonant, high-frequency state of gratitude, something magical begins to happen. The world around you seems to wake up. The rigid, predictable, and often mundane reality you once took for granted begins to soften at the edges. It becomes more playful, more mysterious, more alive. You start to notice the winks and nods from the universe. You begin to see the hidden threads of connection that weave through the fabric of your days. You are tuning your receiver to a new station, one that broadcasts not in the language of logic and force, but in the language of magic and meaning. This is the realm of synchronicity. The term synchronicity was coined by the great psychologist Carl Jung to describe a phenomenon he observed again and again, but for which science had no name. It is, in his words, a meaningful coincidence. It is the experience of two or more events that are not causally related. One does not cause the other, yet their occurrence together is filled with a profound and personal sense of meaning for the person who observes them. It is the universe speaking to you in a private language, a language of symbols, timing, and beautiful improbability. This is not the same as a random coincidence. Random coincidence is forgetting to buy milk and then driving past a new grocery store. Synchronicity is wrestling with a difficult life decision for weeks, asking the universe for a sign of clarity, and then having a book randomly fall off a shelf in a bookstore, opening to a page that contains the perfect, precise answer to your question. One is chance. The other feels like a conspiracy of grace. You have likely experienced these moments your entire life, but may have dismissed them as oddities. Think back. Have you ever been thinking of an old friend, someone you haven't spoken to in a decade, only to have them call or text you that very same day? Have you ever had a specific, nagging question in your mind, and then you turn on the radio or a podcast, and the host begins discussing that exact topic as if they were speaking directly to you? This is synchronicity. It is the experience of seeing the same number, like 11 or 444. Everywhere you look during a time of great personal transformation. It is dreaming of a specific, unusual animal, and then seeing that same animal in a movie, on a billboard, and as a logo on a passing truck, all in one day. These are not meaningless glitches in the matrix. They are messages. They are the breadcrumbs left on the forest path by a loving intelligence, assuring you that you are seen, that you are heard, and that you are heading in the right direction. So why does this happen? What is the mechanism behind this magic? Synchronicity is the tangible, physical evidence that your inner work is bearing fruit. When you do the work of aligning your energy, when you clean up your limiting beliefs, heal your emotional wounds, and cultivate a state of gratitude and trust, you move into what some call the flow. You cease to be a dissonant, jagged energy fighting against the world, and you become a harmonious note, resonating with the symphony of the cosmos. Synchronicity is the natural byproduct of this energetic alignment. It is the universe's way of reflecting your newfound inner coherence with an elegant outer coherence. We can also understand this through the lens of your brain's reticular activating system, your inner gatekeeper. As you clarify your intention and raise your vibration, you are programming your RAS to search for evidence of this new reality. You are telling it, pay attention to magic. Pay attention to confirmation. Pay attention to signs that I am on the right path. Your brain, in its dutiful way, begins to filter reality through this new lens, allowing you to consciously perceive the meaningful connections that were perhaps always present, but were previously dismissed as irrelevant noise. It's a beautiful feedback loop. Your inner alignment allows you to see the synchronicity, and the act of seeing the synchronicity deepens your faith and reinforces your inner alignment. You are entering into a conscious, playful dialogue with the universe. How, then, do we cultivate this dialogue and become fluent in this magical language? The first step is simply to be open. You must be willing to believe in a universe that is alive, intelligent, and responsive. Start your day with a simple, playful intention. Universe, surprise and delight me today. Show me a sign that we are co-creating together. By setting this intention, you open a channel. You signal your readiness to participate in the conversation. Second, you must practice the art of paying attention. Synchronicity rarely announces itself with a trumpet blast. It whispers. It operates on the periphery of your awareness. It is the overheard snippet of conversation from the table next to you, the headline on a newspaper you happen to glance at, the specific lyrics of a song that comes on the radio at the perfect moment. To notice these breadcrumbs, You must lift your head from the screen of your phone and the endless chatter of your own worries. You must look at the world around you with a soft gaze and a sense of childlike wonder, curious about what it might show you. Third, when a synchronicity occurs, resist the urge to immediately dissect it with your analytical mind. The meaning of a synchronicity is often felt before it is intellectually understood. Notice your immediate emotional or intuitive response. Does the event feel confirming? Does it feel like a yes? Does it feel like a gentle no? Or not yet? Does it feel intriguing, inviting you to explore a new path? Trust that initial feeling. Often, the full meaning of a synchronous event only becomes clear in hindsight. Your only job in the moment is to acknowledge it with a sense of gratitude and wonder. You can say to yourself, "I see you. Thank you." A powerful practice is to keep a synchronicity journal. When these meaningful coincidences happen, write them down. This act of recording them does two things. It reinforces to your own subconscious mind that these events are significant, which in turn programs your RAS to notice even more of them. And over time, as you look back through your journal, you will begin to see astonishing patterns, themes, and threads of guidance that will give you unshakable proof that you are indeed being guided. Consider the story of a man we will call David, who felt deeply stuck and unhappy in his accounting career. He longed for something more creative, more expansive, but had no idea what to do. He began the inner work we have discussed, and he asked the universe for a sign, a direction. A few days later, while on a hike, he saw a majestic bald eagle circling high above him, a rare sight in his area. He felt a strange sense of awe. The next day, he was flipping through channels on television and landed on a nature documentary about, of all things, the bald eagle. The day after that, he went to a coffee shop and the company's logo, etched into the cup, was a stylized eagle. He wrote these events down in his new synchronicity journal. Instead of dismissing them, he asked, "What is the message of the eagle?" He researched its symbolism: vision, freedom, courage, perspective. He realized the universe was sending him a clear message: fly higher, see your life from a new perspective, be courageous. This symbolic guidance gave him the courage to sign up for a creative writing class, a longue dormant passion, which ultimately led him to a new and fulfilling career as a writer. The synchronicities were the breadcrumbs that led him from his cage to his calling. This is the life that awaits you when you engage in this cosmic dialogue. It is a life of wonder, of trust, of being guided. You begin to realize, on a deep, cellular level, that you are not alone in this journey. A vast, benevolent intelligence is conspiring in your favor, leaving you clues, arranging meetings, and opening doors. And when you truly, deeply accept this, when you see the evidence of this loving guidance all around you, a profound sense of peace settles in. The anxious need to control every outcome, to plan every step, begins to dissolve. If a higher intelligence is helping to navigate, then you don't have to grip the steering wheel so tightly. You can learn to lean back. You can learn to trust the journey. You can learn the ultimate art of letting go. You can learn to surrender. We stand now in a place of magic. Having witnessed the evidence of a benevolent, intelligent universe communicating with us through the language of synchronicity, we have seen the breadcrumbs on the path, the winks and nods that confirm we are not walking alone. The recognition of this cosmic partnership leads us to a profound and liberating turning point. It invites us to reconsider our role in this grand dance of creation. For if there is indeed a higher intelligence helping to orchestrate the symphony of our lives, then perhaps our frantic, white-knuckled grip on the conductor's baton is not only unnecessary, but is, in fact, getting in the way. This brings us to the most graceful and often most challenging practice of all, the art of surrender. Let us immediately clear the air. For the word surrender has been deeply misunderstood by our culture of striving and control. Surrender is not giving up. It is not passivity. It is not waving a white flag in defeat. That is the energy of hopelessness, of victimhood. It is the ego admitting it has failed and collapsing in despair. Surrender is the polar opposite. Surrender is an act of supreme trust and profound power. It is a conscious, intentional release, born not of weakness, but of the wisdom that comes from knowing you have done your part. Giving up is dropping your oars in the water because you are exhausted and lost. Surrender is calmly placing your oars in the boat because you have hoisted your sail and you trust the wind to carry you home. It is the ultimate expression of faith in the process you have so diligently engaged in. This journey of creation is a partnership, a co-creation between you and the universe. And like any effective partnership, it requires a clear understanding of roles and responsibilities. Let us lay out the job description. Your job, as the conscious creator, is to handle the what and the why. Your responsibility is to get crystal clear on what you desire to experience. This is the work of visualization, of crafting your new narrative. You are the architect who draws the blueprint. Your second responsibility is to align your energy with that vision, to cultivate the feeling of the wish fulfilled through gratitude and your other inner practices. This is the why, the emotional fuel. Your final responsibility is to listen for and act upon the inspired nudges we have spoken of, to participate joyfully in the dance. You choose the destination. You become an energetic match for it, and you enjoy the journey. That is your sacred work. The universe's job is everything else. The universe handles the how, the when, and the who. The how is the infinitely complex and miraculous logistics of bringing your vision into reality. It is the orchestration of a billion different variables, the arranging of so-called coincidences, the weaving together of disparate threads in a way that your conscious mind could never, ever fathom. Your mind can only see a few possible paths to your goal, usually the most difficult and linear ones. The universe, with its bird's eye view, can see an infinite number of pathways. When you obsess over the how, when you try to micromanage the universe, you are essentially telling an all-knowing master strategist how to do its job. You are closing yourself off to the countless magical and effortless shortcuts it wants to provide for you. You are so focused on trying to force one door open that you don't even notice the beautiful gilded gate that has swung open just to your left. Trying to control the how is the root of almost all human anxiety, stress, and impatience. It is the ego's desperate need for certainty in an uncertain world. This need for control is what makes you constantly check your phone, what makes you frustrated when your timeline isn't met, what makes you doubt the entire process when reality doesn't conform to your rigid mental plan. It is a prison of your own making, a state of constant, low-grade tension that actually blocks the flow of inspiration and creates resistance in your energy field. Surrender is the act of willingly handing the how over to a power that is infinitely more capable than your own limited ego. It is you saying, I have created the blueprint with love and clarity. I now trust the master builder to handle the construction. Imagine a master archer preparing to shoot an arrow. Her job is to select the target with focused intention, the what. Her job is to stand correctly, to draw back the bowstring with strength and stability, to aim with a calm and steady eye. This is the inner work of alignment. She has done everything in her power to ensure a successful outcome. But now comes the most crucial moment in the entire process. In order for the arrow to ever reach its target, She must, at the perfect moment, let it go. She must open her fingers and release the tension. She must surrender the arrow to the laws of physics and the flow of the wind. If she were to hold on, if she tried to control the arrow, even a microsecond too long, if she tried to somehow run along with it to guide its flight, the arrow would go nowhere. It would clatter uselessly to the ground. Its power is only unleashed in the act of release. Surrender is that moment of release. It is the pinnacle of the creative process. It is the deep, peaceful, knowing exhale after the focused, powerful inhale. You have done your work. You have aimed your intention. Now, you let it go. You release your desperate attachment to a specific outcome, a specific timeline, a specific form. You trust that the universe, in its boundless intelligence, will deliver to you a result that is in perfect alignment with your vision, or something even better. This or something better is key. When we surrender, we open the door for the universe to surprise and delight us with manifestations that are far beyond the scope of our limited imaginations. This does not mean you become passive. You still show up every day. You still practice your gratitude and your visualizations. You still listen for and act upon those inspired breadcrumbs. But you do it all from a place of profound inner peace. Not a place of anxious striving. You do it with the playful curiosity of a child on a treasure hunt. Not the grim determination of a soldier in a battle. You are no longer trying to force reality to bend to your will. You are allowing reality to unfold in its own perfect time, in its own perfect way, knowing that you are being guided, supported, and loved every step of the way. When you can truly embody this state of surrender, a great peace will settle upon you. The frantic energy of the mind quiets down. The need to constantly figure things out dissolves. You release your anxious grip on the future, and you stop the endless, painful replay of the past. So what happens to all of that liberated energy, all of that precious consciousness that was once tied up in worry and control? It floods into the only place that life ever truly exists. It brings you home, fully and completely, to the infinite, creative power of this very moment. It brings you home to the now. The frantic need to control the future has dissolved. The heavy anchor of the past has been released, and into the vast, quiet space that remains, all of your creative energy, all of your precious consciousness, comes flooding home. But where is home? Home is not a destination in time. Home is the eternal center of your being. It is the only place where life has ever happened, and the only place it ever will. It is the quantum moment. It is the power of now. We have been conditioned to live our lives almost anywhere but here. Our minds have been trained to treat the present moment as either a stepping stone to a better future, or as a painful consequence of a difficult past. We live in a state of what can be called psychological time, a mental construct that keeps us perpetually trapped. We must first learn to see this prison in order to escape it. Living in the past is to be governed by ghosts. When your mind is filled with regret, resentment, or nostalgia, you are allowing a memory, a mere neurological echo, to dictate your present-day reality. You are giving the dead past the power to drain the life out of the living present. It is like trying to drive a car forward while staring exclusively in the rearview mirror. A crash is not only likely, it is inevitable. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Living in the future, on the other hand, is the primary source of all anxiety. Anxiety, in its essence, is the practice of using the energy of the present moment to build and emotionally experience a negative future that has not happened and may never happen. It is prepaying for a catastrophe with the currency of your own peace. This future dwelling also manifests as the great "I'll be happy when" trap. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I find a partner. I'll be happy when I lose the weight. This mindset makes happiness a constantly receding destination, forever on the horizon. It poisons the journey of today with the promise of a tomorrow that never quite arrives. Because once you achieve one goal, the mind immediately sets another, and the cycle of not yet continues. Psychological time is a tyrant that steals your power by convincing you that your power lies somewhere else, in what was, or in what might be. The profound truth is this: your power is only ever here. The now is the point of all creation. It is the 0 point, the quantum field where all possibilities exist until they are collapsed into reality by the focus of a conscious observer. When you are fully present, you are that powerful, conscious observer. You are no longer a victim of past programming or a worrier about future outcomes. You are a presence. It is in the now that you can access your intuition, receive inspired ideas, and take effective action. Your ego, with its stories of lack and fear, lives in the past and future. Your true self, the silent, aware presence behind your thoughts, the source of your being, exists only in the stillness of the now. To connect with the present moment is to connect with your deepest and most authentic essence. Bringing your awareness fully into the now is also the ultimate pattern interrupt. Your negative subconscious programs your fears. Your limiting beliefs are rooted in past pain and projected into future scenarios. They thrive in your absence. They cannot operate under the bright, focused spotlight of your present moment awareness. The moment you become fully present, you cut the power supply to the fear-based mind. The old stories pause. The anxieties fade. Because you have withdrawn your energy from the illusion of time and invested it in the truth of reality. How, then, do we practice this? How do we come home to the now? When the pull of the mind is so strong, we do not do it by thinking. We do it by feeling, by sensing. We use the tangible realities of our body and our environment as anchors. The first and most powerful anchor is your own breath. Your breath is never in the past or the future. It is always, unfailingly, happening now. Take a moment. Feel the sensation of the air as it enters your nostrils. Is it cool? Is it warm? Follow that breath as it travels down into your lungs. Feel your chest or your belly expand, and then follow it all the way out again. Do this for just 3 breaths. In this simple act, you have pulled your awareness out of the chaotic marketplace of your mind and anchored it in the simple, profound reality of your own aliveness. The second anchor is your senses. Anxiety and worry are forms of disembodiment. Presence is the act of fully inhabiting your body, right now, wherever you are. Engage in a simple practice. Name, either silently or out loud, 5 things you can see. Don't just list them, truly see them. Notice the specific shade of blue of a cup, the way the light reflects off a wooden table, the intricate pattern of a leaf. Next, name 4 things you can feel. Feel the texture of your clothing against your skin, the solid support of the chair beneath you, the temperature of the air on your cheeks. Then, listen for 3 things you can hear: the distant hum of traffic, the ticking of a clock, the sound of your own breathing. Next, 2 things you can smell. And finally, 1 thing you can taste, even if it's just the neutral taste of your own mouth. This simple 5 to 4 -3 -2 -1 exercise is a powerful circuit breaker for anxiety, yanking your consciousness out of abstract fear and grounding it in the undeniable reality of your sensory experience. A third practice is to feel the life within you. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your hands. Without wiggling your fingers, can you feel that they are there? Can you feel a subtle tingling, a vibration, a sense of aliveness in them? Now bring that awareness to your feet, your legs, your arms, This inner energy field is the feeling of life itself. By focusing on it, you are connecting with your being beneath the level of thought. You are connecting with the silent, peaceful presence that you are. A great sage was once asked for his secret to a long and happy life. He replied, simply, "When I eat, I eat. When I walk, I walk. When I sleep, I sleep." He was not being simplistic. He was sharing the most profound secret there is. He was fully present for his own life. He did not eat while worrying about tomorrow's journey. He did not walk while regretting yesterday's path. He was wholly engaged with the only moment that ever exists. When you learn to live in this state of presence, your entire experience of life transforms. You become a peaceful force in the world. Your actions are infused with a quiet power. Your perceptions become sharp and clear. You are no longer a leaf tossed about by the winds of thought. You are the tree, deeply rooted in the soil of the now. And from this deep, grounded, and powerful place of connection with your own individual being, your awareness naturally begins to expand. You begin to notice that the mirror of life does not just reflect you back to yourself. You start to see yourself in everyone, and you start to see everyone in you. Your personal mirror begins to merge with the great collective mirror of all humanity. From the quiet, grounded center of the present moment, our awareness begins to expand. Like a lens pulling back, we start to see beyond the frame of our own personal story. We have learned to read the intricate reflections in the mirror of our own life, to see our beliefs and wounds mirrored in our relationships, our work, our finances. But now, as we stand more fully in our power, we lift our gaze and realize we are not in a private hall of mirrors. We are standing in a vast, infinite, and interconnected gallery. And every other human being is a living mirror alongside us. The same laws that govern our personal reality also govern our shared reality. The world itself, with all its beauty and all its turmoil, is a great collective mirror, reflecting the inner state of all humanity. Just as an individual has a subconscious mind, so too does a collective. Humanity shares a collective consciousness, a repository of our shared beliefs, our archetypal stories, and our deepest fears. When you listen to the narratives that dominate our global culture, you can hear these collective beliefs being spoken. The belief in scarcity, the idea that there is not enough to go around, is a powerful program that fuels competition, greed, and conflict. The belief in separation, the idea that my tribe is fundamentally different and superior to your tribe, is the root of nationalism, racism, and war. The dramas we see playing out on the world stage, the political divisions, the environmental crises, the economic inequalities, are not a series of random, unfortunate events. They are the externalized projections of our collective inner state. The news is not just the news. It is a daily report on the condition of the human soul. It is the mirror showing us, on a global scale, our own collective trauma, our own collective fear, and our own collective longing for healing. And just as an individual has a shadow, so too does humanity. The collective shadow of humankind is the sum total of all the darkness we as a species have refused to acknowledge within ourselves. Our capacity for cruelty, our greed, our lust for power, our arrogance, our destructiveness. We exile these qualities from our conscious idea of who we are. And so we are doomed to see them erupt on the world stage. We see the shadow manifest in the horrors of war, in the systemic injustices, in the senseless destruction of our own planet. And our first, most conditioned response is to project this shadow outward. We find an enemy, another, to carry the weight of this darkness for us. We point our fingers at another country, another political party, another group of people, and we declare, "They're the problem. They are the evil ones." This is the same shadow projection mechanism we see in our personal lives, simply magnified to the level of geopolitics. It is the ego's desperate attempt to maintain its own innocence by creating a villain outside of itself. The path to true wisdom, to becoming a healing presence on this planet, lies in the courageous act of withdrawing these projections. It is the profound and often painful realization that they are us. The line dividing good and evil does not run between nations or peoples, but cuts directly through the center of every single human heart. The same potential for greed that we condemn in a distant corporation exists as a seed within us. The same capacity for dogmatic, us versus them, thinking that we decry in our political opponents, exists as a program within our own mind. The same fear that drives others to violence is a fear we ourselves have known. This realization does not excuse harmful actions, but it dissolves the self-righteous judgment that creates separation. It opens the door to compassion. It allows us to look upon the troubled reflections in the collective mirror, and instead of reacting with more hatred and division, we can whisper to ourselves, "That too is humanity. That too is me. And that too is in need of healing." This understanding leads to the most potent form of activism there is. We are taught that to change the world, we must fight the things we hate. We must protest, oppose, and attack the reflections in the collective mirror. But what happens when you attack a mirror? You may shatter it, but you are left with 1,000 smaller, more distorted reflections of the same anger and violence you brought to it. Fighting the reflection only creates more of what you are fighting against. The most revolutionary act you can possibly engage in is to heal your own part of the collective consciousness. When you heal the patterns of scarcity and lack within your own mind, you withdraw your energy from the collective field of scarcity. When you learn to forgive those who have wronged you, you add a drop of forgiveness to the ocean of human consciousness. When you heal your own trauma, you are helping to heal the trauma of the entire species. Your personal healing is a profound and selfless service to the world. There is a concept known as the 100th monkey effect. It is in story from observations of macaque monkeys in Japan. Scientists found that once a critical number of monkeys on one island learned a new skill in this case: how to wash sweet potatoes in the ocean. That same skill would suddenly and spontaneously appear in monkey populations on other islands, with no physical contact between them. While the scientific accuracy of the original story is debated, its power as a metaphor for consciousness is immense. It suggests that when a critical mass of individuals within a collective adopts a new awareness or a new way of being, that new consciousness can be transmitted non-locally to the rest of the group. It means that your inner work is not just for you. You are a single cell in the body of humanity. As you heal yourself, you create a resonance that makes it easier for everyone else to heal. You are the 100th monkey, and your commitment to your own evolution is a beacon of possibility for all. So we see our journey of awareness has expanded outward. From the intensely personal to the profoundly collective, we started by looking at our own reflection, learning to decode its messages. Now, we have zoomed out to see ourselves as an integral part of a vast human tapestry. Understanding that the state of the world is a reflection of the state of our shared soul, we see that the path to healing the world is not through fighting the darkness outside, but by illuminating the darkness within. This leads us to the final, ultimate question of this entire journey. We have looked deeply into the personal mirror and the collective mirror, but if everything I experience, my body, my thoughts, my feelings, my relationships, my world is a reflection in a mirror, then who or what am I? If I am not the image, if I am not the story, if I am not the character being reflected, then what is the constant? What is the one element that has been present through this entire process? Observing it all, there is only one answer. It is the awareness that is looking into the mirror, and so we take the final step, beyond the reflection itself, to realize the nature of the source. We have come to the end of a long and winding road, a journey that has taken us from the outer world of circumstance to the deepest caverns of the inner self. We began by looking into the mirror of our life and seeing a reflection we did not understand. We learned to read its messages, to face the child in the shadow within, to rewrite our stories, and to dance with the universe through inspired action. We expanded our gaze to see ourselves reflected in the great collective mirror of humanity. And all of this has led us to one final, essential question. The question that lies at the heart of every spiritual path. If all of this, my life, my body, my thoughts, the world itself is a reflection, then who am I? The entire journey, up to this point, has been a process of profound disidentification. To find out what you are, you must first systematically realize what you are not. You are not your circumstances. You are not your job title, your bank account, or the house you live in. We have learned that these are merely external reflections of an internal state. They are effects, not your essence. They can and do change, but the you who experiences them remains. You are not your body. Your body is your magnificent, temporary vehicle for this human experience. It is the sensory organ through which you perceive the reflection. It ages. It changes. It gets sick. It heals. But the conscious, aware presence that lives within the body, that looks out through its eyes, has remained unchanged since you were a small child. The body is something you have. It is not what you are. You are not your emotions. We have learned that emotions are energy in motion, weather patterns that pass through the sky of your being. You can feel immense joy, and then you can feel deep sadness. The feeling changes, but the you who is aware of the feeling remains constant. You are the silent, spacious sky, not the fleeting clouds of emotion. You are not your thoughts. Thoughts rise and fall like waves on the ocean. Thousands upon thousands of them pass through your mind every day. Some are useful, most are repetitive and meaningless. You have learned to observe your thoughts without being swept away by them. This proves that you are not the thinker. You are the awareness that is aware of the thinker. You are the deep, still ocean, not the turbulent waves on the surface. And finally, you are not your story. You are not your personality, your ego, your collection of memories, achievements, and failures. This is the character you have been playing, the mask you have been wearing. We have learned that you can rewrite this story, which proves that you are the author, not the character. So when you strip all of this away, the circumstances, the body, the emotions, the thoughts, the story, what is left? When you have let go of every label, every definition, every single thing that is temporary and subject to change, what remains? The only thing that remains, the only constant that has been present through every moment of your entire life, is the awareness itself, the silent, peaceful, ever-present observer, the consciousness that is listening to these words right now. This awareness has no name, no form, no age, no gender. It was there when you were 5, and it is here now. It simply is. Imagine your life is a film being projected onto a giant screen. For years, you have been completely lost in the movie. You identified with the main character. You cried at the tragedies. You cheered at the triumphs. The entire process we have undergone has been to slowly realize that you are not the actor in the film. The ultimate realization, the one we arrive at now, is that you are not even the person in the audience watching the film. You are the screen itself. You are the vast, silent, allowing consciousness upon which the entire movie of your life unfolds. The most violent battle scene does not scar the screen. The most beautiful love story does not change the screen. The screen is the space that allows the entire show to happen, yet it remains pristine, untouched, and forever at peace. When you shift your primary identity from the character in the movie to the screen upon which it is all happening, you have found true freedom. This is the peace that passeth all understanding. This is the ultimate destination of our journey. This is where the paradigm shifts from creating your reality to simply being the source of your reality. And here is the final secret. You are not just the screen. You are the light from the projector that illuminates the screen. You are the very source of consciousness itself. Think of the sun in the sky. It is always shining, always radiating its light and warmth. Sometimes, clouds drift by. From the perspective of someone on the ground, the sun has disappeared. The day has become dark and gloomy. We spend our lives focused on the clouds, our problems, our negative thoughts, our difficult emotion. We try to manage the clouds, to push them away, to analyze them. The Great Awakening is the shift in identity from being the person on the ground, worried about the clouds, to the realization that you are the sun. You are the source of the light that was merely being obscured. Your nature is not darkness or worry. Your nature is pure, radiant light. The clouds were never a threat to you. They were just temporary patterns passing through your infinite radiance. From this state of being, the need to frantically manifest and attract falls away. It is replaced by a simple, profound knowing. You no longer need to manipulate the reflection in the mirror, because you have realized that you are the light that creates all reflections. Your very presence, infused with the peace, love, and wholeness of this realization, becomes a powerful, creative force. You begin to emanate a reality of beauty and grace, not through effort, but through your very being. And in this final realization, the illusion of separation completely dissolves. The individual I that has been on this long journey realizes that the light, the awareness, the consciousness that is looking through your eyes is the exact same light. The same consciousness that is looking through every other pair of eyes in the universe. The source is one. The light is one, simply shining through billions of different windows. The division, the separation, the us and them, all of it was just a story playing in the reflection. A drama on the screen. The screen itself, the light itself, is one. You are not the reflection in the mirror. You are not even the body looking into the mirror. You are the silent, loving awareness that is the source of it all. You are home. We have traveled a great distance together, on a journey not across land or sea, but through the vast, intricate landscapes of the inner world. We began as unwitting subjects of a mirror we did not understand. Feeling like victims of the recurring patterns and reflections it showed us. With courage, we stepped closer and learned to read its language, decoding its messages in the faces of our loved ones and the circumstances of our lives. This understanding led us on a profound descent inward. To the very source code of our reality, we excavated the bedrock of our beliefs. We tended to the tender wounds of the inner child. We had the courage to face and integrate our own shadow. And we found the liberating power of forgiveness. From those healed depths, we rose as conscious creators. We took the pen into our own hands and began to write a new narrative. We learned to use our words and feelings as powerful tools of creation through affirmations and visualization. We discovered the grace of inspired action, the wisdom of surrender, and the profound peace of living in the present moment. We expanded our gaze to see our personal story as part of the great collective story of humanity. And all of this led us to the ultimate, final realization that our true identity is not the character in the story, nor the reflection in the mirror, but the silent, loving, and eternal source of it all. If there is one truth to carry with you from this journey, let it be this: you are not the reflection, you are the light that illuminates it. For so long, the goal may have seemed to be the creation of a perfect life, a flawless reflection in the mirror. But the ultimate prize of this work is not a perfect reflection. It is the freedom that comes from knowing your peace, your worth, and your wholeness are not, and have never been, dependent on what the mirror shows you. Peace is not a destination you arrive at when all your problems are solved. It is the very nature of your being, which you uncover when you realize you are the source of the light, not the fleeting shadows it casts. And so, this is not an ending, but a commencement. You are now equipped with the awareness and the tools to walk through the world in a new way. See every interaction not as a trial, but as an opportunity to practice what you know. See every challenge not as a setback, but as a message from your own deeper wisdom. When you feel fear, anchor yourself in the now. When you feel resentment, choose the freedom of forgiveness. When you see a reflection you do not like, ask what it is showing you. Consciously choose your new narrative. Every single day, the world is still a mirror, but you are no longer a passive spectator. You are the light, pure and free. What you choose to illuminate is now up to you. The mirror waits.